a tad hot. Okay, Eddies, and listen up. This is Sergeant Slaughter from the WWE and G.I. Joe, the real American hero. We're live with my good friend Rob here on the Break Room Podcast. Season 4 starts now, maggots.
Yeah.
Yo, Joe! Yo, Joe!
3, 2, 1.
Woo! Woo! Woo!
Oh, show.
Oh,
My God, your kicking table and the computer just shook. It is, no one was mad that you cut the whole You can go anywhere.
What do I do with that?
Yeah, and the Macho Madness and the Hulkamania.
On top of that, you're the best wrestler of all time. So I absolutely adore you.
For being the cream of the crop, yeah.
Let's go!
Fucking idiot, you have no idea what you're talking about.
God.
They were saying Sony apparently said that the PlayStation 5. You fucking suckers! Is that the end of it?
Or every pixel of the game engine into the face. Can't say
That Dallas.
Stupid.
What did you know when that's like part of my Christmas?
A 10 hot maggots, welcome to the Break Room Podcast, and this is the first episode of Season 4. And I am joined by living legend of WWE fame, G.I. Joe fame, Hall of Famer from class of 2004, Sergeant Slaughter himself.
Woo!
Yeah! All right! I couldn't have said it any better.
Yo, Joe.
Welcome, Sarge.
This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for me personally because I have been a huge Sarge fan since I was like 7 years
Do
old.
you want me to pinch you? Are you dreaming?
I don't know. Am I?
I think so.
I'm
Sarge
still
feels
fat,
that
so
way.
I must be awake. But we're here with one of my favorite people on the planet. We've met so many times over the years at conventions, and that's kind of what brings you here today. We're going to be going to the Suffolk Credit Union Arena at Suffolk Community College tomorrow from 10 to 4 for Big Event New York. It's going to be a huge wrestling convention. There are going to be huge names like Sarge, Paul Heyman, Bobby Lashley, Big Show, Ric Flair. I mean, the names that are going to be at this show are going to be insane. You do not want to miss this. If you're local to the New York area, it's going to be a hell of a show. And I was actually at the last one in March, and it's always a great time. Super
Donald
big.
Trump might show up.
Oh, boy.
There we go.
Oh, boy.
I better get a parking spot
fan.
quick because
He's a big fan of mine.
You get him in the Cobra
I did
Clutch.
see you met the Donald way back when.
Oh, yeah, way back, 1985.
Wow.
The first time I met the Donald, yeah. We were at Toy Fair, and
Oh,
I had my camouflage limo. I had my driver, Don Kernodle, and we're driving down, New York City, and all these cab drivers and everybody was honking and screaming, and we turned the corner and went to park the limo so I could get out and go inside. And they said, you can get out here, but the limo can't stay. And I said, what do you mean? Well, these are reserved for Donald Trump's limos. I said, well, how many do you have? He said, about 10. I said, 10. So I said to Don, Private Kernodle, I said, just hang here for a second. So I go inside. First thing I walk in, I look to my right, and there's Donald Trump on a podium promoting his Trump game.
oh, the board game, right?
And he yells out, Sergeant Slaughter. I said, you're just the guy I'm looking for. He said, oh, come up. So we went up and did a bunch of pictures. I put him in a headlock and a total clutch. And so I went to leave, and I said, one last thing. Yeah, what is it? I said, how come you're taking up all the limo space there? He goes, what do you mean? I said, I got a limo out there. I need a place to park. He's just park it there. Don't worry about it. So we went through the show, and about 3 hours later, here come a bunch of security guards.
Uh-oh.
And they all said, everybody out. So I got up to leave, and they said, no. The people that are coming to see you. You have to stay. So this little boy comes in, an older girl, and a bigger boy, and then this beautiful blonde lady and Donald Trump, his wife, five of them came in to meet Sergeant Slaughter.
That's crazy. That's amazing.
So when are you
Every
going to become
possible
Secretary of Defense then, you know?
Yeah.
there we go.
G.I. Joe takes over
Right.
for defending the
Yeah,
country.
little did we know
the
back
forces
then
of evil.
that he was going to be running for office. But
2028, vote for Sarge, brother.
There you go.
There you go.
Sarge for president.
So anyway, that's when I
Peter
first
for vice
met him.
president.
We became good friends over the years, and he invited me to all his benefit things and for raising money for all the charities and that he did all around the country. And every time there'd be a buffet, he'd go, "Everybody, get in line because Sarge, you don't want Sarge to be first. He won't be in the food."
Sarge, this is like heyday. This is like 85. So you were like 6'4", 330 pounds. Like you were.
I was 340 pounds.
Whoa, sheesh. It's a big.
340.
This is a big guy to sink in the Cobra clutch on you.
Yeah.
Yeah, the couch right now looks like the before and after or something. You can see the real-time difference.
So I mean, he took us down memory lane. Rob, why don't you do the same and just tell us about like the first time that the real life Peter's here today. Your actual brother's
Yeah,
here.
so background
and
in
he's
the
the one who
studio is
showed you
off
Sarge.
So my brother was actually the one that got me into G.I. Joe and all that stuff. He was born in 78. I was born in 88. So he had the knowledge of all that stuff. And they were still making G.I. Joes in the 90s. I was getting the Eco Warriors at the time with the color changing. And that was kind of like where my G.I. Joe fandom started. And like I loved all that stuff, but I never had the original stuff because that was my brother's. And then circa around, I don't know, 95, I discovered a box in the attic of my brother's original Joes. And at that point, he wasn't, playing with toys anymore. So he let me have his box of G.I. Joes.
What was he playing with?
Oh man, girls at that point. Traded G.I. Joe for Barbie, But I remember going through all the toys, and I was amazed because now I had, more than twice the army I had before because I had a decent amount of Joes before I had even gotten that box. And my dad was famous for if he liked something too, you got everything. And he loved the G.I. Joes. And his number one G.I. Joe was Dusty. So you weren't allowed to touch Dusty. Dusty stayed in this little remote control tank, and that stayed on his shelf. And that was the untouchable G.I. Joe figure. But the rest of the stuff was ours. And the top two figures that stood out to me immediately were Sergeant Slaughter and Destro. And this is my actual original mail away Sergeant Slaughter that my brother actually earned. Yeah. So in order to get this guy, you had to get proofs of purchase. You had to speak to Sarge on the phone, and he had to give you a special code, and you had to you had to get the secret code with the proofs of purchase and mail it in, and that's how you were able to get this figure.
That's so much fun to do that.
To buy the Sarge, you had to earn him.
That's right.
And I remember just sitting here, and just looking at the figure, and I was just like, this is one of the coolest toys that I own. Wow. Like I remember, like he had the shades and the tough demeanor. I mean, he was beefy. Like none of the other Joes were built like him, muscles. And nobody else had the G.I. Joe logo on their outfit. Right. So that's I immediately fell in love with the figure, and then I my brother told me more about you and how you were a wrestler too, and you were a real person, and it blew my 7-year-old mind. Yeah. And then it wasn't until many years later, actually, because I was a very impressionable kid. My mom did not let me watch wrestling because I would do everything that was on television.
Diving off the...
That warning they give you at the beginning of WWE, I would not listen to that. Right. My mother used to warn me. She if you keep jumping off the couch onto your knees, you're going to pay for it later in life. Right. And she was right.
Yeah. Don't try this at home, kids.
Randy Savage, just the fingers up jumping off. And Hulk Hogan. I had this big stuffed bear I used to do all my wrestling moves on and stuff. And
I used to put moves on my 3-foot Santa Claus. I used to put him in like the camel clutch and the cobra clutch.
That's why he was on the naughty list for all those.
I was. That's probably right.
That's what these guys were for behind us.
Oh,
if
yeah,
you had these are
buddies.
Yeah.
So the Hulk Hogan one was actually the only one I had as a little kid. And then he ended up getting busted open, and we had to throw it away. That's how
Crimson Mask
back then. The Crimson Mask.
Good God Almighty.
Good God Almighty, killed him.
Oh, God forbid your friends had like a trampoline. That's when the wrestling moves got real serious.
Oh, yeah. Oh, they did not want me in bouncy houses because I was also bigger than everybody. So I would just throw everybody around. And it wasn't until I became friends with one of my best friends in the world. Shout out to CJ Bambino. He's actually an indie wrestler on the indie circuit. And he's also my giant chicken. When I fought the giant chicken live on stage, he was the one that played the chicken. And we kindled a friendship over Star Wars and wrestling. And he was the one that got me to start watching the pay-per-views again. And then I ended up getting the WWE network and watching a lot of the old matches that I didn't have access to before. And that's how, my fandom of your wrestling career kind of flourished. Because initially it was just with the G.I. Joe. I absolutely loved the G.I. Joes. And I still have that huge collection. And I have some of the stuff in this barrel of wonders, which we're definitely going to go through. I figured we'd go through a little.
That's the rookie figure.
This is the rookie figure. This is the original, very first figure of Sergeant Slaughter ever released. Now they did do another mail away, which is a lot more rare, because you didn't get to get an LJN figure. Why don't you tell us about that? About how you were supposed to originally.
There's a great story he told us upstairs before too.
Well, I got called into on a Saturday to Vince's office, Vince McMahon, and he said, "We're going in a different direction, Sarge." And I said, "Oh, good. I'm with you. I'm in with you. Wherever you want to go, I'm going with you." So he brought out this prototype of Sergeant Slaughter, and he said, "This is going to be the new thing. I'm going to do all the wrestlers like this." I said, "Oh, great. That's great. What's in it for us?"
Ooh, good question.
He goes, "What do you mean?" "Well, what are we making off of? What are the wrestlers making off?" He said, "Don't worry, pal. You're going to make a lot of money." I said, "Well, what's a lot of money? What is a lot of money?" He said, "Don't worry, pal. You're going to make a great percentage." I said, "Well, what's that number of that percentage?" And he was kind of like Kamala. He wouldn't give me an answer.
I love that.
I asked that question. I
love that.
I couldn't get an answer from him. And so finally I had to bring my attorney in. And that didn't sit so well. And long story short, I ended up leaving and going to G.I. Joe, and Sarge prototype got stuck in a warehouse somewhere and never got made. So I brought it up to Hasbro years later. Not years later, but I said I really missed out on an opportunity to have an action figure with LJN. Well, we'll look into it. So then they decided to make their own Sergeant Slaughter.
I had that, and I did the mail away for it.
And it was to go with the
LJN line.
The LJN line of wrestlers, and I was made just a little bit bigger than the other
Rightfully
wrestlers.
so.
Sarge, let me ask you a question. Do you think when that came out, do you think that pissed Vince off?
Oh my God! I'm still.
Especially because it's like almost twice the size of Andre and Hogan.
For that, still being punished for that. Yeah, but that is definitely a one of a kind.
Take that, Vince! I got my figure anyway.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Exactly. But there's so many stories in it. I don't want to jump around, but that was the reason that was made, was because I left WWF at that time.
Yep.
Went with Hasbro. I tried to get Vince to do G.I. Joe and wrestling, but he said, I've got LJN. And I said, who?
Yeah.
LJN. That's our new toy company. I said, I'm talking Hasbro, the largest toy company in the world.
G.I. Joe, Transformers.
We can't work something out.
Right.
Sorry, it's a
before they were making wrestling figures, he actually hit us with a fun fact.
Yeah, so the fun fact, the prototype figure of LJN that was made of you, it came equipped with a little accessory, a sunglass accessory, and those sunglasses that they were going to put on your LJN figure were actually on the LJN Michael Jackson figure.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
Really?
Really?
Which is ironic that they kind of used the leftover Michael Jackson glasses, and they were going to put that on the LJN Sergeant Slaughter figure.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Speaking of Michael Jackson,
Uh-oh.
I met a couple of band members one time.
Oh, wow.
And they said, we have a poster of you outside of a tank.
Oh shit!
And before we can go on stage, Michael stops in front of that, and we say a little prayer.
Oh my God!
And we all salute you, and then we go out. And do
Oh my God!
That's awesome.
That's insane.
That's really crazy.
I don't think I've ever heard. Like I've watched so many interviews with you over the. I don't think I've ever heard that. That's crazy.
And his brother, Jermaine,
Jermaine.
told me the same thing because he was in my golf tournament.
Wow.
And I asked him about that. I said, is this true or not? He goes, oh, yeah. We didn't go on that stage unless we stopped and
Oh my
said a
God.
prayer and saluted you. Then we went on.
Even Michael Jackson was a huge Sergeant Slaughter
Huge
mark.
fan. That's amazing. That's something. You
Unbelievable.
never know who your fans are.
Unbelievable.
I met 8 presidents and realized they were fans of mine. Wow. I met them, you know.
Ronald Reagan, big fan of yours,
Oh,
right?
huge.
What was that? Curious, what was it like to meet Ronald Reagan?
Oh, that was a dream come true because, you know, I was promoting patriotism and he invited me to go to his the next phase when he wanted to run for re-election.
Gotcha.
He had a big party in Washington, D.C. and sent about 200 celebrities there. Wow. Myself and John Studd were the only 2 wrestlers. But John's wife worked in the Republican Party, and she got him invited. So,
John Studd was a big guy.
Big John Studd, yeah.
He was a big guy.
A big guy.
So we went there. We had met all of these great celebrities from the past, and I went into the bathroom one time at a bar, and I'm washing my hands, and in walks this guy, and we see each other in the mirror, and he goes, Sergeant Slaughter, and I said, Eddie Haskell.
Ooh.
Oh,
And he goes, I'm a big fan of yours. I said, don't lie to me, Eddie. and I said, I know. I've been watching you with, Beaver's mother, and I don't believe a word you're saying. So he got the biggest. His name was Osgood. I forget his first name, but anyway, he was just a huge, huge fan and couldn't get enough of Sergeant Slaughter. And so we did this big photo shoot. And they said we all went to this huge room, got on this platform, and because John Studd and I were so much bigger than everybody else, we're up on the top with our wives. And they said, the president's going to come in, we're all going to meet the president. So we're sitting there waiting. Finally, he said, here comes the president. And he walks in and waves up at all of us, and he says hello to a couple of the smaller ladies, celebrities there. And turns around, takes a picture, and walks off. I said to my wife, well, that wasn't much of a to meet the president. And, so off we go. We had to go to this luncheon. So we're single file, celebrities this way, spouses that way, and we all had numbered tables that we had to sit at. So my wife and I, of course, were the last ones because we're so far back. And security guard comes up. He says, Mr. Rebus? Yes. Is this your wife, Diane? Yes. Follow me? I said, no, we have to go out to this. We'll get you out there. Just follow me. So we go through a couple of doors, and we walk through a doorway, and there's President Reagan standing there. And my wife went, and I said, take it, and take a deep breath. And so he says, Sergeant Slaughter, so great to meet you.
wow.
I personally had them invite you to be here because I love what you do for patriotism, for our country, and I've always wanted to meet you, and I was wondering if you could put me in the Cobra Club.
Wow. That's
said, sure. And the Secret Service guy, no, Mr. President, we don't think that's probably a good idea.
Dang.
And he says, oh, well, how about if I do a push-up? And, no, Mr. President, why don't we just take a picture and, that. So we sat and talked for probably about 10, 15 minutes. And
wow.
Finally, they said, okay.
It's amazing.
And they took us out, and they said, your wife is going to sit where you were supposed to sit at the table. The president asked for you to be on the podium with him.
Wow. Oh, my God.
Oh, really? Yeah.
That's wild.
So I wait, and finally get up on the podium, and I'm looking for the table where I was supposed to be at. And I finally eyeballed my wife. I said, "Hey," and she goes, "Hey," and I said, "You and I met the big guy." You know? And she goes, "Yeah, yeah." And so a couple people came out and spoke, said all these beautiful things about the Republican Party and that Ronald Reagan was good. So here comes the president, just like a wrestling superstar. The music, the pomp and circumstances.
I mean, he was an actor first, so.
Here he comes out shaking hands and high-fiving and kissing the babies, and and gets up on the podium, comes by me. Thank you again for being here. It's an honor to have you standing right next to me. Oh, thank you. So he starts doing a speech. And he says, and if the Democrats think they're going to beat us in this re-election, that'd be like Beaver Cleaver beating my good friend Sergeant Slaughter. Oh, God. It ain't going to happen.
That's true.
Did he just say my name?
Wow.
So he said my name a couple more times.
That's amazing.
American
You're a
icon.
permanent part of American politics now. See that?
Unreal.
Got his speech over with, come over, thanked me again. Said, I hope I get the paths get to cross again one day. Leaves. I get up to leave. Guy walks up to me, says, the president wanted you to have a speech, and he autographed it for you. So here's
Wow.
the speech.
Wow. Do you still have
I
that?
In one of my boxes like you have.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that was
That's amazing.
Quite a day. Yeah.
That's
Holy
great.
cow.
Now, here's a question I just thought of. Of all the years that you've been doing either the professional or even the convention circuit, who's the favorite celebrity that you've met?
My favorite, probably Paul Newman.
Paul Newman?
Oh, what a
Paul
guy.
Newman.
Hood.
Paul Newman was a real honest to goodness guy that didn't care if you knew if he was Paul Newman or not. He didn't flaunt his characters or his
Fame.
Right. And he just was a normal guy.
Got a good hot sauce.
Salt of the earth.
Just a great, wonderful man. And he lived in the same town that I lived in, Westport, Connecticut, Weston, Connecticut.
Oh, wow.
So we would run into each other every once in a while. And my wife went out to their farm out in Westport and had a few parties with his wife. And I got to go to a bunch of things with him. He was really a great guy, good guy.
Wow. Icon. Just unreal.
Rob, you kind of segued into talking about like your first introduction to Sergeant Slaughter. I think it would be cool if we all kind of went around and told Sarge's story that is near and dear to us. So,
Absolutely.
You're talking about Peter. He gave you the toy, and then what was the first time you remember actually seeing Sarge? Not in like figure form, but actually the real Sergeant Slaughter. Was it wrestling? Was it a GI Joe commercial? What was it?
Physically, probably wrestling.
Okay.
I would say it was. I think it was the match where he fought Iron Sheik.
Okay.
It was one of his.
Was it the
his
boot camp
Sheik-
match?
I think it might have been the boot camp match. And then the next one after that I saw, obviously I had to see the Hulk Hogan match.
Yeah.
WrestleMania, what was it?
7. Yep.
Yeah. But that was, and I was mad because I loved you. And for them to make you a heel, I did never,
We're gonna get to that at some point.
Find out about that, later on. It
We're gonna
didn't
get
sit
to
right
that.
with me because you were the real American hero. And I'm like,
Yep.
Well, a lot
That's not
of
my
people
Sarge.
didn't realize that I was a wrestler first.
Correct.
Because the younger generation saw me in G.I. Joe. They didn't see me in WWF because I'd left for 6 years.
Yeah.
So a lot of them thought I was a G.I. Joe first.
Right.
And it must have been wild for you to be part of that career and to watch it go from the territories to the big conglomerate that it is today. Right. I mean, it really went from almost like a sideshow performance in different regions to it's a multi-billion-dollar brand now.
Yeah.
And you're almost hard-pressed to find somebody that doesn't like wrestling in some way, shape, or form. And I think that now there's more of an acceptance to the fact that, it is a performance, and people don't take it so personally because you can go see a movie, you can go see a television show, but those guys aren't putting their bodies on the line like these guys are live. And I think there's a certain level of respect that people have gained now for wrestling. Whereas before, I think the kayfabe made it more that you guys were real life superheroes to a lot of people. You guys were larger than life. You were colorful. You were loud, and you believed the stories because it was presented to you in such a way that it was believable. The heels weren't allowed to drink with the faces and out in bars. They took it very, very seriously, and it's just. How do you feel about that? Do you like where wrestling has gone over the years? Or?
Yeah, well, when it was regional, territorial wrestling, we all created our own characters, so we knew our characters. Sergeant Slaughter was invented.
Yep.
Roddy Piper was invented. Jimmy Snuka was invented. All our characters were invented, and because we invented them, we knew the character. And so you always strive to get from those territory regional groups to the major leagues, which was New York. And there was a couple other, AWA was
All
wasn't
American.
a major league, but it was pretty close. And Charlotte, Texas, with the Von Erich.
Florida wrestling, it was
But
all
the
over.
the main place was New York, so you'd always try to work to get there. And so I just worked very diligently. I worked sometimes 3 nights or 3 times in one match. Make $25.
Jeez.
I normally make 15, but because I worked 3 times, I got $25.
My God.
You'd work the first match, then you'd work the third match, would be a tag match, and then you'd come back and do a battle royal.
They had to offset the price for the ice you had to put on.
It was all experiences. You got in the ring. The only way you become a professional wrestler of our caliber was to get in the ring. That's the only way. You can't teach another getting in the ring because everybody works differently. Everybody wrestles differently. Every crowd is different. Some are the heel crowds.
Yep.
Some are the hero crowds. And so you had to learn to say you were the heel that night, but the people were cheering you. But you needed to make your opponent, who was the babyface, the hero. So you would take your time, tell that story, and by the time you got your match over with, if you were a real professional, they hated you by the time you left that ring.
Yeah.
Even though they were cheering you.
And you were getting some real heat there too.
You had to really, work that. You just couldn't say, I'm going to do this and do that, what they call locker room matches now.
Yeah.
There's no way we could do that because you had to hear the crowd. You had to see what the
Feel
crowd
it.
wanted.
Yep. Called in the ring as opposed to like having the match laid out for you.
Some of the venues were a lot smaller than we give them credit for, so it's a very intimate experience.
Yeah.
Like they, I ended up going to Allentown, Pennsylvania, where they did the original tapings of the WWF shows, and we ended up going to this bar that was right next door called the Ringer's Roost. And the fellow that ran the place was telling us all stories about the wrestlers that came through over the years and everything. And he took us on a tour, and he showed us what the locker room looked like. I'm like, how did these guys fit in here? I mean,
Andre the Giant was in there at some point.
The average wrestler is my size or bigger. I'm like, how the hell are these guys changing this tiny room?
Back then they were. Now they're like tiny. They're not even like
Little guys.
little. They don't look. Some of them look like they haven't worked out. They haven't lifted weights, and they're all doing these flipping moves, which kind of like talks about like the generations and like how we kind of were introduced to you, how we were introduced to pro wrestling. Chris, when was the first time you saw Sergeant Slaughter and you actually like remember seeing him on TV?
So my intro to Sarge is probably different.
Yeah,
for everybody
that's the
here,
point.
'cause I am the youngest one here, thankfully, I guess. My
does that
intro to
mean?
Sarge was when really it was the era of DX and Commissioner Sarge, and he was the principal of the
Attitude
high
Era.
school, so to say.
The insane asylum.
And it's a cool role though, because if you look at it today, I mean, you have guys like Adam Pearce and Nick Aldis who are bringing
General managers.
Yeah, they're bringing prestige back to like that general manager role. So that was my intro though, the segment where the famous white windshield wiper.
Right.
And that's where I got in, and it really actually took a while until the WWE Network and now Peacock, where you can go back and actually watch all of that old stuff. So that's where I was able to actually go back and watch some of the matches and stuff like that. But yeah, Commissioner Sarge was actually my intro, and I love the character.
Yeah.
Taking Stone Cold Stunners.
Vince came to me and said Gorilla Monsoon wasn't feeling well. And he said, I would like to create a real commissioner. And he said, would you have interest in doing it? I said, sure. Because I pretty much had gotten finished with wrestling. And he said, here's the deal. I want you to dress in a suit or a sports coat, no campaign cover, no sunglasses. And I don't want you to hit anybody. You can't use the Cobra Clutch on anybody. You can't give anybody the Slaughter Cannon. But you have to keep law and order. So you're the sheriff at the OK Corral without a gun. You want to do it. And I said, let's give it a shot. So all the guys, worked around it, worked with me. And when I first went in, it was the Heart Foundation and DX and the group of Iraqi and
Nation of Domination. Farouk.
Those three factions. And so I had to go out and, I didn't always make the rules best for the good guys. Like Mick Foley, he had that mandible claw. And I would give him, you can't do that. He'd give it to me. Or Steve Austin would give me stunners.
How many stunners do you think you took over your
Probably
career?
25,000.
Did he ever miss? Did he ever kick you in the wrong spot?
Yeah. They always were there.
Always in the wrong spot.
Every one of them was stiff.
Well, Steve always used to say he couldn't get his leg up that high, so he would apologize because his kick before the stunner would always hit you right in the nuts.
Yeah.
A guaranteed way to get the guy to bend over for you.
Oh, man.
But at that time, we were in the war with WCW.
Yes, Monday Night War.
So my job was to make some superstars out of the guys we had.
Right.
Austin, Rock,
Triple H.
And it must have been frustrating seeing a lot of your colleagues move over to the other company. And
Oh, yeah.
kinda
It was
competing with
frustrating.
people that you were working with.
They're down there making all this big money, and Hulk calls me up, and Jimmy Hart.
So they made that
Bischoff,
play.
Hey, you got to come
That's a
down.
good question. Yeah, wait.
You got to come down. You're going to make more money you could ever imagine. I said, thank you for the offer, but I'm loyal.
You're loyal guy. Wow.
Wow.
So I just stayed with him.
So there was no amount of them kind of wheeling and dealing to get you over to Turner?
They offered me some pretty good money.
Wow.
I just told my wife I'd rather be here home
At
more
home.
often than beyond down there, because there was nobody in control down there.
Yeah.
True.
The
Vince
inmates
was
ran the
our boss.
asylum. Yep.
And Vince had he said what he wanted to have done, and if you didn't like it, get the hell out. I just felt really bad when all those guys that he made stars out of took off just for the buck. I mean, I understand it. I wish I probably would have gone.
Taking a little bit.
Would have retired many years ago. But I'm enjoying my life. I have more fun now than I ever have because it keeps you young.
Yeah.
When you have little children, all you see is the top of their head on your signage, and you see this little head there, and they go, "Hey, Sergeant Slaughter."
Oh.
They know who I am, and I'm 76 years old. I mean, that means their parents must know who I am. Their aunt and uncle, their grandparents.
It's past. It's
That-
past.
and it
I
just
figure
keeps
that
you
generation that you
Handed
grew
young
up
at
with you
heart.
as a Joe. Like
That's great.
Their parents now, and
Right.
like he's my brother's got a daughter now, and she knows who you are.
Yeah. You can never look back and say, I should have did this or I should have did. I did what I thought it was right at the time. Even with the Iraqi sympathizer, my wife said, "Are you out of your mind? You're going to get us killed. You're going to get yourself killed just to do something like that." I said, "But it would be fun." She said, "You do whatever you've always decided what was best for your character. You just go ahead. But don't tell me I didn't tell you so."
Right.
And it was so much fun because what made it worse is I just came off of G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was a
You,
real.
he was
It
an
was kind
80s
of a
icon.
payback.
He was
It's
everywhere.
like quitting G.I. Joe and joining Cobra right after.
I think there's a little payback there along with it because I left. I did do the first 6 WrestleManias, and I left and went for G.I. Joe. But
Vince, I got a plan for you. I'm gonna make you
yeah,
the biggest,
I got an
biggest heel
idea
ever.
for you. I got an
Vin, how about you? When did you first take wind of seeing Sarge?
Man, born in '87, so I feel like I saw the cartoon G.I. Joe Sergeant Slaughter. You were just an American pastime when I was born,
part of
and
the
as I
zeitgeist.
grew up. Yeah, and I think, to Chris's point, as I grew up and I really got into wrestling in the Attitude Era, I knew who you were becoming the commish, but to me, yeah, you were the American hero, G.I. Joe, cartoon, diving off the tank. It was just Americana. I just knew who you were without necessarily acknowledging it in a way. So, yeah, you were just ingrained in my childhood in a sense. So it was, Americana for sure.
I heard people say it was hard not to be involved in it because this is a real person that's
Yeah.
jumping out of that animated tank. He's
Yeah.
really a real person.
Right.
'Cause it never was before.
No.
Right.
It was always a voiceover or a drawing that somebody made at Hasbro for G.I. Joe and made the series. All of a sudden, here you have a real live. That was their purpose, was to, when they saw what I did with the Iron Sheik, the match, the boot camp match, the light bulbs went off in their minds, and the corporate officer at Hasbro, and they said, we need to move into another era.
Right.
We need someone like this to be our spokesperson, to be our
insane.
ambassador, to go to the hospitals, to go to the children's hospitals, the veterans hospitals, go to Toys R Us when they were
Yep.
working, and that's what we need. And so I was the one that they had 4 of us. It was myself, Arnold Schwarzenegger,
Wow.
Lester Stallone,
Wow.
and Chuck Norris.
Oh my God!
We were the 4.
Wow.
Our team
Oh
right
God!
That's what they
Take over the
told me.
Imagine
world.
that 18. Forget
Oh, I take over the whole universe.
Our first round table up in Pawtucket told me that 4 names. This is the 4 people we're looking at to be our first living G.I. Joe. And so I didn't say a whole lot. I just listened. And when I want to leave, of course, I drove up in a camouflage limousine. And I told my driver, Don Cronolo, I said, drive around as slow as you can around this area. We put some American flags on the bumper or the hood of the car, and I said, go as slow as you can. And I looked behind. It was like the Pied Piper. People were chasing the limousine. We pulled up into the Hasbro office there, and it was like
The Madhouse.
scene out of a movie. And so I walked in, and I didn't give a lot of time a day. I just listened. And so I said, well, we'll take it under consideration. And I'll let you know. I have my attorney with me. So we want to leave. And as I want to leave, I stopped, and all these people ran into me, ran into the back of me. And I turned around, and I said, well, just let me say this. If you're looking for the real G.I. Joe, I'm him. I don't care about the other 3 guys you're talking about. They're characters. I'm the real G.I. Joe.
Yeah. All right.
And I guess that must have convinced them, because by the time we got halfway back, we stopped to have some lunch, or late lunch and early dinner. And we didn't have cell phones back then, so my attorney said, I'm going to go give my office a call, see if I got any calls. And he came back. He said, they've called 3 times already. They want you to be their guy. So
There you go.
that's when I had to go break the news to Vince. And I said, this is going to be a bombshell. I said, I couldn't wait for him to come in to Hamburg, because we had already done Allentown. And he came in, he wasn't at Allentown, so he came into Hamburg. And I said, Vince, you got to hear what I got. I got Hasbro, G.I. Joe, and I laid the whole thing out to him. He said, that's good, pal, but I can't let you do it. Why not?
Oh.
I got LJN.
Oh, jeez.
LJN.
Who the hell is that?
Anyway, that's
So that was really like my first time seeing Sarge. Like I was born in '82. I think my first remembrance of pro wrestling was around late 1985. There was an episode of Saturday Night's Main Event. My older neighbor used to have the LJN wrestlers, and he would watch it. I didn't know what it was, but the first time I saw wrestling was late 85. It was a Halloween episode of Saturday Night's Main Event where the Iron Sheik was dressed as Batman, Nikolai Volkov was Robin, Hulk Hogan was dressed like Hercules, and you had Macho Man and Liz as like Tarzan and Jane. So Sergeant Slaughter was kind of like out of the mix at this time. But I was playing with toys as a kid. I would play with Transformers. I'd play with G.I. Joe.
Is that the one where Roddy gives the kids bowling balls?
Yes. Yes, they trick or treat at Roddy Piper's house, and he does the trick rather than the treat, and he gives them bowling balls and like rotten apples.
Steals
and
their candy.
He steals all their candy, and it was just stuff like that. Like that's the reason why the WWF took off in that era, because they fit in with the culture. Like everything was larger than life, colorful characters. Like the AWA, the NWA, they were just wrestling. They didn't have like that superstar appeal. They didn't have like, you know, playing with toys as kids. You play with Arnold Schwarzenegger. You played with Optimus Prime, the Ninja Turtles, you know, Sergeant Slaughter, things like that. So the first time I got to see Sarge was in a G.I. Joe commercial, because he did all the toy commercials back then. The T-Tank, he would introduce like the entire line of G.I. Joe toys. And then finally the G.I. Joe movie came out. And I remember we got to see it in the theaters, and I could not wait until it was in the video stores. Back then you had to go to the video store, you had to rent the video. And I remember right next to G.I. Joe the movie, they had like a best of Sergeant Slaughter Volume 1 tape of the AWA. And I was watching wrestling. I was like, Sarge is a wrestler? What the hell is this? Yeah. So I turned it on, and he's in there wrestling Nick Bonkwinkle and Larry Zbyszko in the AWA. I'm like, holy crap, Sergeant Slaughter is like a wrestler. I had no idea. I thought he was just a real-life G.I. Joe. So to your point, Sarge, like finally years later, I guess you got the call back in around 89, 1990 from Vince to say, hey, we'd like to bring you back in. Can you take us through that phone call when he asks you to actually go from, like Rob said, G.I. Joe to Cobra and turn on the United States and turn heel and be an Iraqi sympathizer? Like, what was the first thoughts going through your head when he said that?
Well, when I left on bad feelings to go to G.I. Joe, I didn't watch 1 second of the WWF.
Wow.
I didn't want anything to do with it because they really upset me.
Yeah.
There's no reason I can't be in both, but that's the way they want to do it. That's fine. So WrestleMania 6 is coming on, and my contract's about up with Hasbro.
Wow.
So I'm in Cleveland, Ohio, and I'm at a hotel, and I see it advertised, WrestleMania 6 from Toronto, Canada.
Skydome, Hogan Warrior. Yep.
To the front desk. How do I get this on my television? They said, you just call this number and whatever.
Pay-per-view back then. Yep.
Dial in. You got to dial in.
I go down and I have some dinner, and I come back and the show's already on. So when I turn it on, it's Hulk Hogan and
Warrior
being introduced.
Right.
And I looked at the television and I went, oh my God. It looked like 1 million people were in that. It was probably 70,000.
Yep.
It looked like 1 million people, because when I left the WWF, they maybe had 1 or 2 cameras, 3 cameras.
Wow. Yeah.
Wow, yeah. Now you got 20 cameras, and they're everywhere. And I said, oh my God, I can't believe it. So I pull out the drawer of the desk at the hotel room, and I get a piece of paper and a pen, and I, dear Vince, I just got to give you credit and a salute for your production of WrestleMania 6.
Wow.
The time I've seen this.
I never heard this story.
Yeah. And I said a few nice, better things, and I signed it Sarge. I put my smiley face with a hat on it. And I put P.S., the match between Hogan and Warrior, and I put 2 big letters, P.U.
Ooh.
I stuffed it in an envelope. Next day, I got a stamp for it, and I sent it off. 2 weeks later, I get a call. I'm watching a NASCAR race. Sunday afternoon, my family's all gone, and I'm kind of like dozing off, watching the middle of the race, and phone rings. Hello? Sarge?
Hey, pal.
Yeah. Vince. Oh, hey, Vince. How you doing? He says, hey, I got your letter yesterday. I just wanted to thank you for
your comments on our production because Kevin Dunn and I have really worked hard to make our product the best that ever could be. I said, well, Hollywood should take some advice from you guys because you're bigger than and better than any Hollywood movie I've seen in a while.
Super Bowl
So,
quality.
thank you, pal. Thank you very much for all that. And he said, I see your contract's about up with Hasbro.
Kind of had a.
I said, oh, funny you should know that. He said, I need to know those things. So he said, are you ready to go back to work?
Oh.
I said, yeah. He said, well, I got an idea for you.
Uh-oh.
Come on over to my house. I was living in Connecticut. He said, come on over to my house tomorrow morning. I'll lay it out for you. So I tell my wife, guess where I'm going tomorrow? Where? Vince McMahon's house. Oh, what's going on? He's got an idea. Okay. So I go there, get through the security thing, and drive up to his house. He comes walking out, he's got his cup of coffee, and hugs me and embraces me like nothing had ever happened. Like we're old buddies and pals. And
Were you nervous going into that house thinking he was going to...
I've been watching your career. You're doing great. And off we go into the house and go into his library there. And he's got this prototype of WrestleMania VII.
Oh, my God.
L.A. Coliseum. Got it all made out. He said, this is WrestleMania 7. He said, I want you and Hulk Hogan to sell it out. 104,000. I want to break the Detroit record. He said, oh. I said, you do? He goes, yeah, and I know you and Hogan could do it. I said, great. Well, how are you going to make Hulk the villain?
Oh, jeez.
He goes, Hulk, no. I want you to be the villain. I said, I'm G.I. Joe. I told my wife, you're going to make me the real American hero. I didn't know you had this in mind. He said, no, here's my idea. I think you should come back. You're pissed off at your country because they're weak. They let a little country like Iraq take over Kuwait, got all the uranium and getting the oil, and you're pissed off because you're a military guy and the USA is weak and the P's for pansies, and he laid this all out to me.
Wow.
And I'm kind of like getting fired up, yeah, that sounds pretty cool. And I want you to be an Iraqi sympathizer. And I said, an Iraqi sympathizer. Yeah. I think you and Hulk can pull it off. And I said, oh, okay. He said, well, it could get a little dangerous, so why don't you go talk to your wife?
Oh, my God.
And I said, dangerous? I'm in. He said, no, go talk to your wife. So my wife is waiting, having a nice dinner with her 2 daughters. So what did Vince have to say? I said, I'm going to be going back to work for him. Oh, great. Yeah. And is he going to make you the real American hero? Real American hero? I said, no, not quite. He wants me to be an Iraqi sympathizer. She dropped her fork.
Oh,
and
God.
She said, Iraqi sympathizer? What are you talking about? So I laid it out to her. She said, are you crazy? Are you out of your mind? Are you insane? You can't do that. You're G.I. Joe. I said, well, that's what he has in mind. She says, well, you just do whatever you think you have to do because you've always done what you think is best for your character.
I would imagine Vince was not the type to take no for an answer if he didn't want to do it.
He wasn't. And plus 104,000.
Woo.
That's like a medal on your chest.
Yeah.
Right.
Down in history, you're going to see your name at the top of the page, and it says SO, sold out.
Yep.
That's like a medal of honor.
Yeah.
And
to break another record that would never be thought of being broken, I was all in.
That would have been the record still to this day if
Now,
they
in
would've did it there.
retrospect, considering what happened with losing the venue and having to downsize and the danger that it posed you and your family, going back, do you think you'd make the same decision?
Oh, yeah. I'd have made the same decision. Yeah. I wish they would have did it differently, but I said to Vince, if you want me to do this, I got to do it the way I would do it. I said, I don't want anybody coming to me and say, don't do this, don't do that. He said, pal, you do whatever you have to do. If you go too far over the line, I'll pull you back. But if you want to go for it, you do it. And I said, well, number one, I got to have the right people involved. So I started out real slow. We brought the Sarge back angry and mad, but we didn't do the Iraqi sympathizer thing. But one morning, Vince calls me up about 3 o'clock in the morning. Hello,
I don't
Sarge. Vince, what's going on?
This guy doesn't sleep.
He says, you got a problem. What's the problem? Warrior broke Macho Man's hand last night in a match, and I need to have you take Macho Man's place in all of his matches. I said, oh, okay. He said, I hope you're in shape and you're ready because the Warrior's a maniac. And I said, well, I've been watching him. Yeah, he is kind of a crazy guy. He said, no, he's nuts. And he doesn't.
I never heard this story either.
Justifiably in a position I'd rather not be in.
He said, but you got to take it. And they're already into cage matches. He said, so you're going to have to really step it up. I said, I'm ready. So off I went, and they gave me Sensational Sherry at first as my manager.
Wow, I didn't know that either.
I went to Vince, and I said, if you want me to do this Iraqi sympathizer thing, I need to have somebody other than Sherry as my manager. I got this guy up in Minneapolis, AWA, Adnan. And, I said,
The General Adnan.
I'm bringing him in. He goes, well, I don't know much about him. I said, well, I'll bring him in, and you tell me what you think. First night, Hershey, Pennsylvania, Adnan comes in, introduce him to Vince. I said, go get your outfit and come back. He comes back, and he walks into Vince's office.
Looks like Saddam Hussein.
Vince had to catch his breath. He said, I thought Saddam had his
Oh, shit.
He said he looks just like him.
Yep.
And he had the uniform on and the beret and all this, that. The only thing is he had a gun on holster on, and he had a plastic gun. I said, get rid of the gun.
Yeah, no, we don't want
give
that.
anybody ideas.
Yeah.
They say you're a little crazy. So, and that's when I introduced General Adnan in Hershey, Pennsylvania. And from that point on, it was Katie bar the door.
Katie bar the door. I think that's the most diabolical, heinous, despicable, greatest heel turn of all time. You talk about like Hulk Hogan going to the NWO, Stone Cold joining Vince McMahon. He's joining like the Taliban, so to speak, in that time frame. He's joining like Iraq during like that entire era of like the war. There's nothing in the history of wrestling that will ever even come close to that. That is white heat. That is not, I hate you, you're annoying.
Right.
This is, I want to kill you. Look what you're saying to our country. And this isn't just anybody. This is G.I. Joe is telling you that he's siding with Iraq. So for me at like, I think I was like 10 or 11 years old. Like this broke my heart. This was like, holy crap. Like I was in tears. I put away all my Sergeant Slaughter toys.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to do with them at that point. But it was like
nuclear heat.
This was insanity. So Sarge, when you get the news that not only are you going to beat the Warrior at the Rumble and you're going to become the world champion, talk us through like that conversation and talk us through like, obviously I didn't know that you had to work with the Warrior all these house shows leading up into the Royal Rumble. So what was that like for you when he said, all right, we're going to put the strap on you and you and Hogan are going to headline number 7, Mania 7?
Never mentioned to me.
What?
Whoa.
Never mentioned to me. When I got to Miami, I thought we were just having a regular match. And I didn't know that Macho Man and Jerry were there. Vince brought him in. And never even told me that he was coming out. It was an element of surprise for me. Because we got the match going, and it was supposed to be a double disqualification.
So the bell rings. You still don't know you're going to be. You didn't know who's going over?
That was the greatest part about the whole thing. Is I'm in the match, setting up to get double disqualification done, and I take the referee to let Adnan go over and get a little heat on him, and I look over, and I hear this crash, like glass breaking, and I look, and there's Macho Man with a scepter and Sensational Sherry right behind him, and off they go, and I said, "Oh hell!" What's going on here? You know? And I said, well, is that the double disqualification? I guess that's it. So I'm waiting for the referee to do something, and the Warrior's laying on the second rope. So I said, well, I'll just pull him in. I went to pull him in. My hands actually went off of his body because he was dead weight.
Yep.
So I went back and I yanked him and I pulled him in, and I didn't know what to do. So I said, I'll give him an elbow.
Give him an elbow, yeah.
Try to wake him up. He was out.
He hit him
So
that
I
hard.
gave the elbow smash. I covered him, and it was either me or the referee was covering him because he was out. And so the referee, 1, 2, I figured he was going to kick out. He didn't kick out.
That's
And
insane.
I looked at Earl Hebner, and he looked at me, and he went and grabbed the purple belt and gave it to me. And I said, all right, well, I'll put it up in the air. And, man.
Wow.
Oh, hell.
Ooh, that was insane.
And then I turned around, and the Warrior kind of woke up a little bit, rolled out of the ring, and just ran off to the dressing room. When I got back, Macho Man wasn't there, and Warrior was sitting in the dressing room with his head down. And I went over, I said, you okay? And he just stayed down like that. He knew he got screwed.
Ooh.
Because that's the way they wanted to take the title from him. Because Vince told me later, if I would have told him, he wouldn't have done it.
Wow.
So I had to do it that way, kind of like the screw job in Montreal.
Oh, God, yeah. We can get to that at some point.
That's
But
another podcast.
yeah, we'll be here all night.
That's a
I
highly
was right
debated
there
thing on the show.
ringside.
So now we're full steam ahead. Sergeant Slaughter is a WWF World Champion. Hulk Hogan wins the '91 Royal Rumble, so he's the #1 contender now. And this was said to you, like I think right before WrestleMania VI, that he wants to fill up the Coliseum, over 100,000 fans. At what point did you find out that it's too much of a risk to go into the Coliseum, and they were going to go into the LA Sports
4
Arena?
weeks before.
Wow.
Another call. Hello, Sarge. Problem. What's that? LA just called me and said I need to secure the building for $5 million.
Oh, my God.
Jesus.
Not doing it. Because there's so many threats and violence and all this and that. And he said, I'm not doing it. I'm going in where I can secure, my own guys can secure the arena. So we're going in there. I said, what? No. No. That's why I did all this.
That's the whole point.
I didn't do this to go into the arena. I want to break the record. He said, well, we're going to do okay. We're just not going in there. I'm not spending $5 million.
Man.
The tickets aren't going great, but it'll sell out. But I'm not spending $5 million.
Did everybody take a big pay cut when you had to move the event, or did everybody kind of make the same?
I made a pretty damn good paycheck, and when I got it, I couldn't believe the amount of money. I never saw that much money in one match before. It was just one of those things. I said, I want to be in more main events.
Yeah.
WrestleMania.
Should have had more.
I could imagine what it would have done if we would have been 104,000.
Jesus. I remember
I took a cut and pay because we went into the arena, but I got paid off the pay-per-view.
The pay-per-view was one of the most successful pay-per-views at that time. It was like one of the highest buy rates for 91. And I remember like Hogan was bleeding for the match. He gets the win. And I think on Coliseum home video, they show backstage after Hogan gets back into the dressing room, you throw a fireball at him. And that kind of leads into the match made in hell, which is my first pay-per-view ever that I attended as a kid, 1991 SummerSlam, the match made in heaven and the match made in hell. It was one of the greatest SummerSlams of all time. The main event was Sergeant Slaughter, General Agnon, and Colonel Mustafa, the Iron Sheik, versus Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior, and Sid Justice was the special guest referee. Also in that night, Bret Hart versus Mr. Perfect for the Intercontinental title, Big Boss Man versus the Mountie in a loser goes to jail match. You had the $1 Million Man versus Virgil for the $1 Million Championship. And the last thing that we saw before we left was Macho Man and Liz had a wedding. They got married at Madison Square Garden. So this was insane. I was like 9 years old. I couldn't believe like the amount of stuff that they crammed into this one show. But Sarge, that is like one of the last big programs that you had as the Iraqi sympathizer, Sergeant Slaughter. At one point, Did they try to transition you back and try to take your country back? Like, when did that conversation start?
Well, normally when you lose a title at a WrestleMania, what we call a program is over.
Right.
And so losing the title, I didn't want the program to be over because I'm still an Iraqi sympathizer.
Yeah.
I got to figure out a way to get out of that. So I said to Vince, since you took the 104,000 from me, is there a way that, in my own way, that I can continue Hogan and I? He said, what are you talking about? I said, I'll show you. I said, you just give me a couple of cameras after the match and get Gene Okerlund and Hulk talking on their way to the dressing room, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. And he said, well, I want to know what it is. So then I had to tell him. He said, okay, let's go for it. So when Hogan came through the doorway, I had that ball of fire and hit him right in, smack in the middle of the eye.
That was crazy.
He went down and he sold that like he was on fire.
Adrenaline warfare, brother.
And of course, Gene Okerlund, he's nobody better than Gene.
No.
And so we continued the program. And then we went into Desert Storm matches.
Yes.
And then Hogan would have a patch on of his eye. And people
had the
had
hard
still
helmet.
sympathy for him. And they still hated me because of what I did. And I got more money out of it because otherwise they would have stopped the program and sent me on my way. But this way I got to continue the program. And then we ended up in getting Colonel Mustafa. Vince came to me and said, Sarge, Sheiky owes me a lot of money.
Oh, no.
Do you mind if I put him with you guys as, I said, but he's from Iran. I said, well, we'll call him something.
I don't know that.
Well, yeah, if you want, I said, really don't want him, but yeah, we'll take him. So that was hard for people to understand why I would take
your arch nemesis.
Baths with, and have him with me. But it turned out
he was a real
okay.
life friend of yours. He worked for your dad's roofing company, right?
Roofing company, yeah. When he was training, and I met him at the training camp. I was a year after him.
Vern Gagne training camp.
I went through the camp and ended up, which is another podcast story. Ended up having a go around with Billy Robinson.
Tried to break your ankle there.
Yeah, he tried to break my ankle for me just to show everybody, that the press and all that wrestling was real. And I didn't appreciate that. I kind of went into a zone I'd never been in before because I pictured my father being on the roof the next morning by himself when I couldn't get up to help him. My leg would be in a cast. So I just I went after Billy and tried to pull out his good eye. And he had a glass on. I tried to pull out his good eye, and I was furious. I mean, I was. Anyway, I hope I never get that mad ever again. But, so Vern Gagne took me outside and this barn and camp, and he said, "Where'd you learn how to fight like that?" I said, I really don't know how to fight. I just know that he tried to take my livelihood away from me, and I wasn't going to put up with it, And I started telling him a story about my father. He said, well, who's your dad? I said, Rudy Remus. He said, Rudy, your dad's Rudy Remus? He put the roof on my house. Oh, shit. He said, I know. I helped him put the roof on your house. And he goes, oh, say hi to your dad. I love your dad. He said, but if you want to be a wrestler, I can't put you through this camp. You're 8 weeks behind. It won't be fair to you. But if you want to go next year, I got Chris Taylor and a couple other guys that want to go through the camp. I said, yeah, I'll let you know. So I went home and told my dad.
That's a great story.
Go for it. I don't want it to be a roof for the rest of your life. Go, try it. So I went through it. And anyway, I met Khosrow there. And luckily they didn't have Khosrow go on me because he would have probably beat me in a second with his amateur background. But so when he would get done at the camp, we would always meet at this gym and work out. And he started showing me amateur matches, amateur moves on a mat. Wow. We got to be good friends, and he said, "I'm starving to death. I can't make no money." And blah, blah, blah. I said, "Well, my father has a roofing company. If you want to come work for me, I will. And so he was our kettleman, what we called the kettleman.
That's insane.
I did
roofing.
I did roofing for 3 days.
Yeah.
And I ripped 3 roofs, and that was it.
Yeah,
I could not.
It's a tough job.
That's
tough
a
job.
rough.
Hot
way
in
to.
summer, cold in winter.
Woo.
And your hands are bleeding.
That's how I met Cosgrove. So when they said I'd like to get some money back from them, and I said, okay, I'll
Let him
let
in.
him be with us. So we became the
Colonel Mustafa.
yeah, Colonel Mustafa.
Those Persian clubs of his must have been nuts.
I tried them. I could never do it.
He said that the
That's
only
incredible.
I think to this day the only one that was able to do it was Bob Backlund, and he ended up giving him a set
Yeah.
Holy shit.
for actually being able to complete it. But you gotta suspend them both like this, and then bring it around and bring it around.
No, the Persian clubs, they were
But
like
you- but you can't
120
let-
pound.
You can't
like,
let it drop. Like,
Joe
to
couldn't
bring
do
it
it.
back. Like the whole thing is just like an
Balance-
insane
it was
calisthenics.
A lot to do with balance too.
Weightlifting.
But you had to have upper
Shoulders and your
shoulders, traps, pecs. You need to have
It
that.
went behind your head, right? Like a little
Tri-
behind your-
even triceps, you got to have a lot of like.
Cosgrove made it look so simple.
Yeah, he made it look like they were 20
It
pounds.
looked like he was doing a circus act. I mean, while anybody else tried to lift it, I mean, you'd see ripped people, and they couldn't do it.
When he would do it, you just say, "Oh, I can do that." And you get them up like that, and they go back. You almost break your wrist just trying to steady him. First time you take one back, that was it. Boom.
Sarge, we constantly go off topic here, but I just can't help to ask, what's the craziest Sheik story you have?
Oh gosh, I was telling.
Can you tell?
I was
Yeah,
telling-
yeah.
I mean, he could tell. It's
Tell 'em all.
my age,
We can-
way
Who's
over
gonna
that.
see it?
But I got to know Sheik a whole lot different than a lot of people did, because I knew him before he was the Iron Sheik. He was just Cosgrove Vasari, and he wrestled down in Kansas City when I first started. Sergeant Slaughter, 74, 75.
Yep.
And he was from Minnesota. That's where he lived. And he met a girl that I introduced him to. And they ended up dating. And every Sunday night Kansas City, we were off. We wrestled Saturday, then we were off Sunday. And Monday was TV, which didn't start till 8 o'clock. And so he would drive his car from Kansas City to Minneapolis just to be with her. And because he loved her so much, and then he would come back and be there for TV. And but he was just a wonderful human being. He really was, and a heart of gold. But we never wrestled each other. We were always on the same side. And so when I went back to New York for my second tour of duty, I got to thinking, there's the Iron Sheik from Iran. Sergeant Slaughter, WWE,
It's a match.
never got a payback for what Ayatollah Khomeini did. I'm going to give this idea to Vince McMahon. Senior was running the company at that time. First time I came in, I worked with Backlund and a few Pedro and a bunch of those guys, Andre, and then he sent me off because he didn't want me to get overexposed. So I went down to Charlotte. Did really, really well there with Don Kernodle. And the first couple times I was there, I won the U.S. Title, which was like the world title in Charlotte, because the world champion always traveled. So there was never a world champion in Charlotte. He was always gone. Flair and Harley and the Funks and the Briscoe. So that U.S. title was like the world title. And so I just did really well with it. And so when I went back, the first night, as you probably remember, Allentown would do 3 tapings, and then we'd do it at Hamburg. The next night, do 3 tapings. Then we'd do any more TV for 3 more weeks. So I come back, and I'm even hated more as Sergeant Slaughter, the second tour of duty. And we go out, Vince McMahon, Senior, his son, and a couple other guys, Pat Patterson, we go out and have a dinner and have some drinks. Sergeant, it's so good to have you back. Vince McMahon Senior never called me Bob, Robert, Sergeant Slaughter. He called me Sergeant. Sergeant, so good to have you back. You're the greatest villain ever in this business, and I just love you, and you're the greatest villain. I said, well, Mr. McMahon, if you think I'm such a great villain, you should see me as a hero. He goes, Sergeant Slaughter? No, Sergeant. Sergeant Slaughter could never be a hero. What do you got in mind?
I said, well, I laid it out. Got Iran, Iron Sheik, who takes the flag out. I said Ayatollah Khomeini did all these horrible things, the hostage situation, killing of the Marines at the embassy, the Black Hawks down. And I went through the whole thing with him, and I almost hypnotized him. He drops his mouth open, like listening to me, and I almost had him, and he snapped out of it. He goes, "Oh, you almost had me there, Sergeant, but no, it's a good idea, but it only worked a little while, and then you have to go back to being the villain." And I said, well, I think we could do it a lot better than I'm telling you now. And I look over his shoulder, and there's his son. Yeah, because he's taking over. I like it.
Junior.
His father turns around. He said, Vinny, don't you ever make the sergeant a hero. It won't work. It'll work for a little while, but it won't work long term.
And then Hasbro was like, hold my beer.
Yeah. So he says, you just go on, and so 3 weeks go by, and we go back to Allentown, and we're doing our 3 tapes again. So the first tape, I'm the bad villain guy. Second tape, I'm the bad villain guy. Third
The
tape,
evil drill
I'm off.
sergeant.
I'm not even working the third tape. And here comes Vince Jr., Vincent Kennedy, as we have to call him these days. Vincent Kennedy comes in, and he goes, Sarge, are you ready? And I had already taken my stuff off, And I said, ready for what? I was born ready, Vince. What do you want? He said, what you told my dad 3 weeks ago at the bar about the being the hero. I said, yeah, when do you want to do it? Next week? Or he said, no, I want to do it now. And I said, now? He goes, right now, next.
Oh, my God.
I'm not telling anybody. I'm not telling my father. I'm not telling Sheik. I'm not telling Blassie. Because Blassie was his manager, Ayatollah Blassie. He said, I'm not telling anybody.
Ayatollah Blassie.
That this is going to happen. The only people I'm telling is the truck, because they got to play your music when I cue them. I said, okay. So I'm putting my stuff back on, but I can't find my campaign cover because somebody put it somewhere.
Oh. No.
So I ended up getting a baseball cap that had the Marine Corps logo on it, and that's how it all went. I walked out. I declared war on him. He'd beat up this kid pretty bad and kept knocking him off the gurney. And so I came out in the Marine Corps, him, and the people were like, it almost went down to silence. And then they realized I came out to defend the honor of America.
Yeah.
And the people started, and it got louder. So I went in and I challenged the Iron Sheik to a match. And I always remember, because Vince said, give me your best General Patton promo. Because we didn't have scripts back then. Sure. Give me your best General Patton promo.
This was a hell of a promo if you haven't seen it.
So I'm thinking, what do I say? So I go out there and I got in the ring and I got Eddie Gilbert out of the ring. So I thought, well, just Iron Sheik. There's something I've done since I was a little boy in school, in the Cub Scouts, the Boy Scouts, the Marine Corps. I still do it today. And
Pledge
I put
Allegiance.
my hand on my heart, started doing the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yep.
Well, those people jumped up on their chairs and got giving me goosebumps.
Yep.
With their lighters, and they're doing the Pledge of Allegiance with me. And I went from the most hated villain of all time to the biggest hero of all time in a matter of 5 minutes.
That's insane. Same
less.
night he switches. Like, that's insane.
Probably less. And the next time we came to the Allentown 3 weeks later, I got in early because I found out what was going on for 3 weeks. People were mobbing me, So I walk in, and this guy that put the rings up, he goes, Sarge, that's for you over there. And I said, what? And there's like 8 sacks of mail in big canvas. And he said, that's Matt, that's for you. That's fan mail. You got wow. I said, what? So I started going through it, and there were money, there were please send me an autograph.
Sent it to keep opening them.
Sign my father's utility cap. He wore it in Vietnam.
Oh my
and,
God! Wow.
All this stuff and
Crazy.
I went through one bag and I didn't know what else to do, so I just had it shipped to my house. And ended up answering every letter.
That's insane.
But
It's way better
that's
than
how
Mike's.
that's how quick it happened. And that going back, I'm kind of describing how I got the Sheik and,
Right.
and the friendship and all that. But we had some hellacious matches, and we
Oh,
didn't
yeah.
care about friendship at all. We were trying to make some money, and whatever we had to do to make money, we were putting money in on the table for our family to eat and have a good life. And when I had the opportunity to bring him in to get some money back to Vince, I was happy that I was able to help Cosro
Right.
return the favor for
Yeah.
what he did for me, and that night at Madison Square Garden, you had mentioned the SummerSlam. I don't know if a lot of you have heard that story, but
Yes.
Vince McMahon comes in to my locker room and he goes, "Sarge, I got to have a word with you." And I said, "Yeah." So he takes me in the shower room and we're talking. He said, "I got a problem." I said, "What is it?"
This is a good one.
The Warrior's holding me up for $550,000.
Oh.
And he wants cash before he wrestles.
What?
Yep.
I said, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, he wants me to pay him." I said, "Well, what are you going to do?" He said, "Well, I'm going to pay him, but then he's fired." He's done. He's all done.
You're
And he feels that I'm screwing him and I'm not paying him.
That's
I'm like,
fucking
Hogan's
nuts.
got-
You're not
Here
Hulk
comes
Hogan.
Adnan and Sheik.
He's not
my
even-
partner, so they're figuring there's something to be talked about. So he come walking in the shower. And the Sheik, "What's going on? What's
Oh,
the
Bubba,
problem?
tell
What's the
me."
problem? Daddy, what's the problem?" And so Vince tells him, "Oh, the mother." So all of a sudden we hear the doors bounce almost off the hinges. Here comes Hogan.
Oh.
He joins us. That mother. Yeah, they hated each other. And
I'm sure.
so he says, "Is it true, Vince? Is it true?" He goes, "Yeah, it's true." "Why? Here's what we're gonna do." He said, "Sheik, you be on the outside of the ring, and Slaughter, you and I'll be in the ring, and I'll tag the Warrior in, and Sarge, you throw his ass out on the floor, and I'll get Sid to grab me as I'm coming through the ropes. And when the three of us are arguing, Sheiky, you jump down and break his leg." And Vince goes, No. I don't need a lawsuit on top of it. He just get the match over with. And
It's an amazing story.
he's done. He's finished, So word got out to Warrior, so he left the ring and left
He ran away.
before he ran
I
out.
break that blonde jabroni leg.
Yeah.
He didn't pay his dues the way you guys did.
That's insane. He holds him up for $550,000.
Crazy.
Pays him, fires him right after that.
Right.
I think it was like a year later, 1992, WrestleMania 8. You were in an 8-man tag at that show. It was in Indianapolis, Indiana, the Hoosier Dome. Were you shocked that Vince actually hired him back? Were you like, what were you thinking? Like, what was the locker room's impression when he's back now after being fired and holding you up on one of the biggest shows of the year, SummerSlam?
Yeah. Well, as Vince told us in that shower room, he said, "I gotta pay him because everybody here is here to see this match. I can't go out there and say the Warrior's not going to be here tonight because I fired his ass." He said. So, what I learned with Vince McMahon when he took over the company was you never said never to Vince McMahon.
Never say never.
Never say never, because he would use anybody that he thought going to make him money.
Right.
And somehow he thought if he got the Warrior back and drew some money, he's going to get some of that money back that he lost. And he gave many opportunities, and even let him stay at his house for a while.
Right.
Shit.
And I think I was the only other wrestler that ever got invited to Vince's house for Thanksgiving.
Wow.
Oh wow.
I was already a friend of mine, Victor, and I already had plans to have dinner, but because we did the Macy's Day Parade in
New York and Manhattan, yeah.
so Vince said, "What are you doing for Thanksgiving?" And I said, "Well, I'm gonna go out with a friend of mine." He said, "Oh, you're more than welcome to come over to the house." I said, "Oh, thank you very much."
Mm-hmm.
But that's I learned never to say never or think never when Vince McMahon did something, because even to this day, I got a feeling he's
got something.
got to start up another organization or do something.
Oh boy.
He's
No
itching.
way.
He can't help it.
There's no way he can be out of. He's got this. He's too
It's in his
talented
blood.
to-
It's in his blood.
in this business, the entertainment business.
Too many ideas to let him lie.
He's
Look what
the
he did for UFC
you're right.
Right.
just by helping the guy that
Dana White.
Dana White.
Dana White.
Merger and TKO.
He became friends with Dana White, gave him a couple of bucks, and told him some advice. And look where Dana White is right now.
Right.
That's a
right.
funny story because at one point when the UFC was up for sale, Shane McMahon actually begged Vince to buy the UFC. I think it was like for $1 million at the time.
It was cheap. It
And
was
now it's a
$5
$1 billion company where they merged with TKO. Sarge, we have like a rundown, rapid fire questions. I know we've been asking you a lot, but a lot of these questions are like, 5-second answers, boom, 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 and then we can kind of, I know.
Hey, we don't mind. We don't
We love
mind.
it,
We-
like-
Got the toys, too.
Yeah, I mean, hold on.
to
I mean,
show.
so we always talk about this on our podcast. You're like ingrained on the show from like day one, and it's just a surreal moment. I just want to say for you to kind of be here with us on season 4, episode 1.
And
It's
we've been
truly
talking about this since the show started.
it's a dream come true. Like you have no
to have
idea.
you
It's
here
a dream come
Good to be
true.
here.
To have you really here.
You're one of my best friends.
Yeah.
Oh, you humble, sir.
You know, it's so nice to see that.
He always comes by wherever I'm in the area.
I got it.
Well, when we were at Menon Sports Arena, we came down to Jersey, and you were hosting a big line, and everyone, and you lit up when Rob walked up to the table. I saw the look, and I was like, "Wow, that's something really special."
Because I do, I do these conventions all over the place, and people regale me, and I get swarmed. But I don't have a huge opinion on myself. I fall through the cracks kind of guy in my own mind. But then seeing you and seeing how excited you get to see me, it turns my day around.
It's
It really
so
does.
fun because you do your character so well. You're a brilliant.
It's a way of life at this point.
There you go.
You got to show him the video you did, the G.I. Joe unboxing video. He does impersonations of you, Cobra Commander.
I created my own G.I. Joe
it's a-
cartoon. You'll
it's
have
a-
to show you that.
It's a funny.
It's episode 4 of what I call "What's in the Box," and you guys can watch that to the people viewing. It's a new series. It's almost like a robot chicken kind of thing because I show off some toys, I open them up on like a time lapse, and then I play with them with different voices and stuff. And so that episode actually features the first toy I'm going to show off.
Oh,
This
look
is
at
the
that.
this is the Transformers
That looks
Triple T
familiar.
tank. And my favorite part about this set is it actually comes with a new O-ring Sergeant Slaughter. Yeah. So it's kind of funny how his first figure and his last figure, or latest
Most
anyway,
recent.
are both O-ring G.I. Joe figures. Yeah. So I was really excited to get this.
Transformer was just an incredible. When they told me they were going to do a Triple T into a Transformer,
Crazy.
How was that gonna?
And I it's funny because I was really hoping that they would, only because they came out with a couple before. They did I think a Bumblebee Transformer that came with a Sergeant Stalker, I think, and then they had the his tank.
You got me that
came
one
with
for
Baroness, and that turns into Megatron, which is pretty crazy. So, and I actually I did buy that for you.
You know what I miss now? I wish they would have got you to do a commercial, like an old school kids commercial, to kind of advertise that figure.
I wish they would.
That would have been like all time, like just a throwback, like 80s G.I. Joe commercial when I first saw Sarge. With that being said, we got like our rapid fire questions.
Let me say this before you.
Yeah,
do
no, go ahead.
I can count in my business.
Yeah.
You meet a lot of different people, but I can count on one hand the people I would call a friend
Okay.
in the business, and Rob is one of those those fingers.
That's just.
Because I have people come to me that are fans that are want to imitate me or want to do this, but when he takes this off, he's Rob.
Oh yeah.
He's not a fan. He's just
It's a genuine
friend. He's my friend.
Yeah.
So
great
We
to
love
hear.
that.
appreciate your friendship.
I appreciate you
Anybody
more.
that
so.
would wear a campaign cover as long as you and I have tonight has to be a friend.
Oh yeah.
And
These are like
stayed on.
these are the hottest things.
do not
It's a little warm in it.
And he dons the tights
You know
too
why
for the
drill
shows.
instructors are so mean because they got to wear these damn things.
That's what I always said. I was like, that's why Sarge is so angry because he has to wear this hat
have
all
to
the
wear
time. Doesn't breathe at all.
I should have thought
it's
of a
easy to
different
stay irritable. You know?
I should have came up with a different character.
It's amazing.
Go ahead.
So actually,
No, it's
along
okay.
those lines, if I may, Sarge, my question is, the Sergeant Slaughter character or persona, was that something that originally started off like the boss just said, "Hey kid, you're going to be a drill sergeant"? Is it something that you came up with yourself? And if so, who was that based off of, and who helped you develop the persona?
Good question. I had thought of the name Bob Slaughter as a wrestling name. And I used it a little bit down in Louisiana. My first character was Beautiful Bobby.
Yes, beautiful.
Long blonde hair. You can
The
look
Mighty
it
Mouse
up.
shirt.
Yeah. Oh, wow. My hero was superstar Billy Graham and a wrestler by the name of The Crusher. So I got the voice from The Crusher. He talked out of the side of his mouth like that. And then Billy Graham had the muscles and the blonde hair and all the
Tie-dye. Yep.
And I loved both characters, so I made it into one, Beautiful Bobby. But when that red light came on, I froze. And I remember times when I'd come off a interview spot and I could wipe the teeth that I shattered off my own teeth because I was so nervous.
Yeah.
And I'd be red spotted all over the place because I was so nervous. And my doctor even told me, he said, "You need to find a different sport. What do you do? You a football player?" I said, "No, I'm a professional wrestler." He said, "Well, what does that entail?" I told him I would do interviews, and he said, "Are you comfortable with that?" I said, "No, I'm scared to death." He said, "You need to find a different profession."
My doctor
Because
told
you're
me to
gonna
stop
have a
watching
heart
the Jets for the same reason.
You can have a heart attack. And I said, okay. So then I kind of tried different characters. I came up with Bob Slaughter, and then my mother got sick. And I had to quit the business, take care of my dad's roofing company for him so he could be with my mother. So one day we're out on a roofing job, and it started raining like hell. So he said, "Go on and go home because we can't work." So I get home. Back then we didn't have, remotes. I pull the knob on the TV, and as soon as I turned the knob on, the Marine Corps hymn was playing. And it was a black and white movie, and it was called The DI with Jack Webb in it. And he was the meanest, toughest DI you could ever imagine. But I watched it, and he never, because it was a television movie, he couldn't use any vulgar language. But he was the meanest, and they were all scared of him. And I said, that would be a perfect character in professional wrestling as a villain, and I could call myself Sergeant Slaughter.
Amazing.
So I ran down to my Army Navy surplus store and got a campaign cover, got a whistle.
That's exactly where I got my
aviator
hat.
glasses,
Swagger stick.
and I got a swagger stick. It was actually a riding crop, and my wife comes home. I got an old T-shirt, white T-shirt that had no pits in it, and she comes walking in, and she said, "What? Are you dressed up for Halloween?" And I said, "No, this is a new character I want to do." So I started doing it for her a little bit. She said, "That's not bad, not bad." So I go down. Next day it rained again, so I run down to Vern Gagne's office. I wanted to show it to him. He loved it so much, he took my campaign cover off, put it on his own head, and started doing the character to me.
Wow.
That's
when you
was
know.
in the Marine Corps, and he hated his drill instructor, so he was pretending to be his drill instructor to me. And he said, "That's the greatest. You got to do that." He said, "Harley Race just called me, and he's looking for a new villain, and that would be perfect." I said, "Well, I can't go right now. I'm still running my dad's roofing company." So I went home and told my dad the story, and my mother said, "Bobby, I'm not dying tomorrow. Go."
Oh, wow.
So I went down, got a hold of Harley Race, and Harley Race fell in love with the character. And I'll tell you a little story about Harley Race. He said, "Sarge, come over. I like the move. What do you call it?" I said, "The Slaughter Clutch." He goes, "I don't like that name." I said, "What do you call it?" He said, "I call it the Cobra Clutch."
Wow, I didn't know that either.
That was in 1975. And in 1985, I got a call from Hasbro. And who was their enemy? Cobra.
Yeah, the
That's
odds of that.
the stars were lined up.
So it was meant to be.
I always
God,
wondered
it's meant to be.
if what came first, if you got that from G.I. Joe or if it preceded that, and I figured it preceded that.
And of course, later on, I saw a movie with Jackie Gleason, and he was Sergeant Slaughter in the movie.
I got a big mouth.
Yeah. and so a lot of, I tell people that's where I got the name, but that's not where I thought of the name myself. But
Had it ready.
that's where the Sergeant Slaughter was created. And if it wasn't for Harley Race, Vince McMahon Sr., Pat Patterson.
And it's crazy some of the people that, like,
Lord Alfred
you know,
Hayes.
because I have my business cards. I have my costume of you on the back of them. And I can't tell you how many celebrities I've given a business card to, and they're more excited that I dress as you than the Peter Griffin thing.
Yeah, that's true.
They're
He
like,
said that.
"You do Sergeant Slaughter too?" I met Kevin Smith, and he was a huge fan of yours.
Oh, yeah.
And he was telling me how they used to see your stretch limo with the camo going around Jersey back in the day.
Right.
And then I met Tom Kenny, voice of SpongeBob SquarePants. Of all people.
Huge.
And he was like, you do Sergeant Slaughter?" I'm like, "Yeah, he's a dear friend of mine, you know." And he's like, "I love wrestling. I go to all the WrestleManias I can." I'm like, I wouldn't expect that from SpongeBob. But he's a huge fan of yours.
About 2 years ago, he was at a Comic-Con, and we're getting ready to leave. We were there for 3 days, and he had the longest line. And I said to my agent, I said, "Who is that guy?" He said, "That's the voice of SpongeBob." I said, "Really?" "Well, my grandson is a huge fan of his. I got to go meet him." So I walk up to him and he goes, "Sergeant Slaughter, oh my God, you're actually talking to me." He said, "I've been looking at you all weekend and I wanted to say hello, but I'm afraid to." I said, "Oh, I'm okay." So we took some pictures and I put him in a Cobra Clutch, and he's got like this crazy look on his face. What a wonderful man he is.
Yeah, no, he's a gem of a guy.
Yeah. But that's basically where the Sarge came from, and
The origins of
where
Slaughter.
it went. And like I said, Harley Race, Lord Alfred Hayes, Mr. McMahon Sr., Pat Patterson. If it weren't for those 3-4 guys, I wouldn't be sitting here right now on your podcast, because they taught me so much about the business. I wrestled Harley Race. One time I wrestled him 60 minutes on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Came back on Monday and wrestled 90 minutes. Tuesday, 90 minutes. The next week was all 90-minute matches, all to a draw. Talk about learning the craft.
That's why
the
they
greatest
men
that ever stepped
the
in
conditioning
the
was
square
so important.
That's why guys like.
Yeah. Then he came to me and said, "Well, we're going to go a no time limit." I said, "What?" He goes, 2 out of 3, no time limit, because everybody wants to see somebody win this thing. I said, "You're kidding." He goes, "Yeah, we'll only do about an hour and a half." I said,
Own.
Unbelievable.
match.
It's unbelievable.
Guys like Warrior didn't understand that. They didn't pay. He didn't pay
Sarge,
the
rapid
dues.
fire for us as best as you can. We appreciate, like, all the time. We wanna get you on your way. You guys have a big day tomorrow, big weekend ahead of you guys.
Where are we at tomorrow?
You are at the big event New York, right here on Long Island in Brentwood. It's going to be a huge lineup. You have
10 to 4, I heard.
10 to 4, 10 a.m. to 4, Sergeant Slaughter, the real-life Peter Griffin, Paul Heyman, Ric Flair, The Big Show, Bobby Lashley, and a bunch of ECW alumni wrestlers are going to be live in person, taking
boys.
photos, signing autographs, and you heard it here first, Sergeant Slaughter.
I might even go over and show Lacey Evans how to really put a goal.
Oh! That's a
worth the
podcast
price
in
of
its own.
admission right there.
That's it. Yeah, stole the gimmick, brother. I didn't even compensate the Sarge for that.
So Suffolk Credit Union Arena, Brentwood, New York.
It's at the Suffolk Community College.
It is Suffolk Community College.
Don't
Be
miss
there.
that. I mean, if
Be
you're on
there.
Long Island, if you're in New
if
York,
you
wrestling,
missed
if
this-
you live on Long Island, you
gotta
messed
get there.
up.
If you go to New York Comic Con, it's one thing. It's a big thing. It's hard to see the people and meet the people you want to meet. When you go to these events, this is where you can actually interact with guys like Sarge, guys like Rob, real life Peter Griffin. So highly, highly, highly recommend.
And the wrestling fans are always like the most hyped people. Like, you know, whenever the
This is Long
energy
Island.
is always high, and everybody's always very excited at these cons, and you kind of it's infectious.
This is
You
the
know,
home
you
of
just, like,
Nassau
get excited, too.
Coliseum. This is where wrestling,
Madison Square
Madison
Garden.
Square Garden.
Boot
This is-
camp match,
I know
brother.
How do you beat New York?
I've seen Rob in character, and he is nonstop.
It doesn't.
And I'm the same way. I don't know if Rob learned it from me or not, but I treat the last person in line just like the first person. I
Yeah.
give them as much time as they want,
Yes.
and I don't care if I'm there for 3 hours over, as long as they all get to see you and meet you and
Be there.
get what they
Earn
want.
your
amazing.
coin with Sarge.
Active on Twitter or X, as it is now.
Twitter.
Right,
Follow you on there. We
Right,
get a lot
right.
of action on there, a lot of fan engagement.
yep.
Oh, I need Joe to do this rapid fire. This is
All right,
there's
here
too
we
many
go.
good ones.
Yeah, we got a lot of good ones. We talk about this a lot on the podcast, Sarge, but we want to know from you personally. It could be like your favorites or, all time that you worked with. Who's on your Mount Rushmore as the greatest wrestlers of all time?
Well, Harley Race, number one.
Number one.
I'd have to say, as far as entertainment value, Ric Flair.
Woo!
Yeah, I'd have to put Rick on there.
So that's two.
Longest line.
Andre the Giant.
Woo, that's three.
There we go.
The fourth one, wow, Roddy Piper.
I love that. A hot rod.
That's a good one.
It's a great one.
I'm his son's godfather. I don't know if a lot of people know.
Oh my God, really?
His daughter's going to be
Daughter's
at
gonna
the
be
big
there.
event in
Yeah.
NY
Teal
tomorrow.
will be
So
there.
Teal Piper will be live as well.
She'll come over a couple times, and
Yeah,
Really
looking
nice.
forward to that.
It's a family.
Here's some off-put ones, Sarge, for you. You want to say something?
Is there a fifth one? Or is
No, it's four.
It's four
Mount
on Mount
Rushmore. So
Rushmore
he
only.
said Harley
No
Race,
fifth yet.
Ric Flair,
Donald Trump's not
Andre
on
the
there yet.
Giant,
Roddy Piper.
and the the hot Scott, Roddy Piper. That's a great list. I love that list. Sarge, who's the smelliest wrestler you worked in the ring with?
The smelliest wrestler I ever wrestled was probably Haystacks Calhoun.
Ooh. Jesus. All right, who was the stiffest?
Tough to work.
Stiffest, Stan Hansen.
Ooh, Stan the Laird, because he had some eyesight issues.
Yeah.
Oh,
First time I wrestled Stan, 2 minutes into the match, he clotheslined the referee thinking it was me.
Oh shit!
So we were the main event in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and we had I said, Stan, you hit the wrong guy. And he goes, what? I said, I'm over here. And he goes, oh, shit. I said, we're going to have to do some, because you're disqualified for sure. The referee got up and rang the bell. We're going to just have to do some ad-libbing here. And so for the next 45 minutes, we fought each other up and down the stairs of that arena and in and out. And it was just craziness. But I'd have to say when Stan Hansen hit you with the lariat, you knew.
You felt it.
Yeah.
All right.
Before you ask him the next question, can I get you another drink?
Yeah, sure, of course. I don't know how much longer we have. But I think
We're wrapping up soon.
Yeah, we've
we're
got a
close.
few more questions, and we're going to go through the bin real quick, and then I think we're going to wrap it up.
Sarge, this is just for me personally. We talk about this a lot on the show. Some of us are fans of one. Some of us are fans of the other. So this could be a general question. Wrestler, overall person, quality of a human being. Who's better, Bret Hart or Shawn Michaels?
Wait till I leave.
I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings.
Joe's
I'd
a
have
big
to
Brett
say-
guy. Chris is a big
Shawn
Shawn
guy.
Michaels guy,
Okay.
and we respect both of them tremendously. And it's kind of an ongoing.
Well, we've met
joke
Bret
on the
Hart
show.
3 times, and he was
We have
amazing.
met Bret Hart. We haven't
Both
met
should
Shawn.
be given equal places on the totem pole because they're both outstanding performers, and especially Brett because he came to me when he was tired of the tag team situation, and
I was at a restaurant at 3 o'clock in the morning. I won't mention the name of the restaurant, but it was a Denny's. But anyway, I was sitting all by myself eating, and he came in, and he was all depressed. He said, Sarge, I think I'm going to give my notice. I said, for what? He said, I'm going to go back to Calgary and help my dad run his wrestling company.
Right.
Wow.
He says, I'm just not getting anywhere. I said, Brett, the reason you're not getting anywhere is because you're tag team. You're too good of a talent to be sharing that with anybody. So you need to go into the singles.
I didn't hear this yet either. This is
Go into
insane.
the singles section. And so he said, you think so? I said, yeah, I know so. And I said, I wasn't good at tag team either. There's one or two people I could have a tag team match with because they wanted me to be the star. You're working with guys that want to be the star along with you, but you're the main guy. So lo and behold, he listened to me, and I think it's in his book. He told the story that I just told you.
Yeah.
And he came back, and they made him the world champion. And Shawn Michaels, probably one of the greatest talents that ever got into a squared circle. He one of those guys that just overcame a huge obstacle, and that was thinking that he was better than everybody else.
Oh,
And
right.
then he got into the drug situation.
Yeah.
And it made him a whole different person. He didn't want to be around him. He was ugly. He didn't want to be around him, but he was such a good talent. So but I have to, they're both equal. If I had to pick one, I'd have to go with Bret Hart.
Yeah.
I'd have to go with Bret.
You're making Chris sweat. Thank you, Sarge. We love that.
But
kind
I
of both.
was there at the the screw job, which was like about a week ago. Next week, I think that happened.
Yeah, the anniversary of the Montreal Screwjob's coming up.
Oh,
November.
before I forget it, happy Veterans Day to all the veterans out there and
Yes.
all the
Yes.
Marines. Hoorah! Happy
Thank
birthday
you.
to you.
Thank you.
Thank you for serving your country and loving your country so much that you would die for it.
Beautiful.
We
Yes.
appreciate it.
Special shout out to Real
Can't-
Life Lois, who is a veteran.
Can't thank you enough.
Cheers.
Cheers.
We're enjoying this right now because of them. So, thank you.
100%.
Amazing. So Sarge
Man,
chooses
that's
Bret
the
Hart.
stiffest.
Oh, that's the
That's
That's the stiffest Mountain
You know
Dew
why?
I
Because you
ever
poured
had.
it on the top. That's why.
that's the Stan Henson of
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a Mountain Dew. That's what it is. Yeah.
that's the Stan Henson of drinks he made for
But
you.
I got one right
have,
here for
I
you if
have
you
the
want a Mountain
ultimate respect for both talents. Sean has really stepped up and became a man's man and took over the NXT with when Hunter was working it with him, and of course now Hunter's full time with WWE and SmackDown and Raw, and it's just amazing how different Shawn Michaels is today. And
It's night and day.
Hunter's doing a great job.
he was,
Yes,
and
in
he's
his
doing
new
a
role.
fantastic job. You can see the talent that's coming up
Yep.
from the NXT into the WWE, and it's all because of Shawn. And
Yep.
of course, he has some good guys there helping him too. And I wish I could have been there to help him, but I just got too much else going on, and I'm really enjoying life the way it is right now.
Absolutely. You did your
My
time,
good
Sarge,
buddy
you
here.
know? You put your days in. Sarge, what did you enjoy more, being a heel or being a baby face?
Oh, I'd have to say being the heel. Yeah, there's nothing like going into an arena, and I kind of explained it a little earlier how you had to listen to the crowd and see
Evoking
what
so
they
much
wanted.
emotion. It's like a high.
Sometimes you're like the hero to the villains, the audience, but you had to work around it and make yourself what you're supposed to be that night. which was
Say the
heel.
heels draw the house, too.
So I always enjoyed being able to go into that arena and have those people in the palm of my hand.
Right.
I could make them go this way. I could make them go that way. I could get them up. I could take them down. But that was an art.
Yes.
That was a form of art. And
It's a lost art these
as
days,
I say,
I think.
I've told many people, wrestlers are actors. we're actors,
Athletic actors.
but we
Physical performance.
we don't have stunt doubles.
No.
We do all that ourselves. So you have two professions. You're an actor and you're a stunt double. Some stunt doubles are better than the others, and some actors are better than others.
That's a good way of putting it.
Sometimes you come across that guy or that woman that does both. And I've been told that I had that
Absolutely.
quality. But to switch, there's guys that never worked as a villain. Ricky Steamboat was never.
Never. Tito Santana, never. Junkyard
Tito was
Dog,
a
never.
villain. But they were such good
Babies. Yeah.
that it just was that way.
All right. So, how about from the active roster? We talked about NXT, SmackDown, Raw. Who from the current active roster would you have loved to work with?
Wow. Well, there's an NXT. Well, they're both from NXT now because that's where they got their start. They may have gotten their start somewhere else before that, but I would actively.
Yeah.
I would have loved to had a match with what's her name?
Rhea Ripley.
Rhea Ripley.
Rhea Ripley.
Rhea Ripley would have been great.
I was asked.
Me too.
5
Me
years,
too.
5 years ago, I was asked by the WWE to vote on who I thought was the upcoming best woman superstar to come up, and I put her name down.
Wow.
And I was one of the only ones that put her
She's
name
a big
down.
star.
And I saw her at SummerSlam in Cleveland, and I wanted to say hello to her, but she was busy doing something.
Oh,
I would have
just
loved to
wanted
have
to
seen
come on.
Rhea versus China. That would have been a
Oh,
fight.
man.
all timer.
She was a
China would have been
sweetheart.
great one to have a match with. And as far as the men, probably Braun
Braun Breaker.
Braun Breaker.
Breaker. To me,
Rick Steiner's
up
son.
and comer.
You know, Rick
to me,
Steiner.
he's because he learned. I don't know where Rhea got her background.
She's from Australia.
but I know where Braun got his from.
Oh, yeah.
And same with The Rock.
Yep.
He was born in
Second
India.
generation, third
He
generation.
didn't want to be a wrestler. When he come in the locker room, I'd say, "Hey, Dewey." "Hey, Sergeant Slaughter." I said,
Dewey.
"You gonna be a wrestler?" "No, I'm gonna be a football player."
Oh, right.
I think he should be a wrestler." "No, I'm gonna be a football player." He didn't want anything to do with it, but he watched it. His
learned.
cousins and they would always wrestle and all that, but he just it wasn't his love until
Right.
he finally found the character.
Yeah.
But he came in a couple times, and he
Had a
got
tough-
in with the he finally got in with the
Nation of Domination.
nation, and he would come back from the ring, and I go, "Rock, Dewey, you hear those people? What, Sergeant? They love you. They love you entertaining them.
Yeah.
Even though they're booing you, they're booing you happily.
Right.
There's a whole different sound when
He sucks.
you're entertaining us. We
Yeah.
love that. It's different when they try to stab you.
Really like hate your gut. When
It's a
you,
whole different type of.
it doesn't work when you want or try to be liked. It seems like you have to be authentic,
Oh yeah,
and then the crowd buys right into that.
exactly. They see right through you.
Yeah.
If you're not putting if you're pretending, they see right through you. Wrestling fans are some of the smartest people in the world.
We love that. We love
They
that.
are. They really are. They see everything. They watch every movie. They watch every talk show. They watch
Every podcast.
anything. They watch it all. And they're brilliant, smart people.
Sarge,
love 'em.
we're talking about like a lot of opponents here. Is there anyone in your career that would have been a dream opponent for you that you didn't get to work with?
Oh, many. I didn't get to.
Who would be
work
at the
with,
top of the list?
The Undertaker.
Baker
Oh,
would have been a hell of a
And
match.
I kind of brought him in
yeah.
to the WWE without anybody even knowing it. He sent out. He was down in WCW.
Yeah.
Me, Mark
Me,
Calloway.
Mark Calloway sent a. I hurt my back. Vince maybe come in because I lived in Connecticut into the office in Stamford.
Yep.
And
Right
I
over
said, he said, "Yeah, you come in and you got to dress the part." So I came in a 3-piece suit, went to his office, Sergeant Slaughter reporting for duty, sir. I said, well, what do you want to do? I said, I don't know. What do you want me to do? He says, I don't know. What do you want to do? I said, I don't know. What do you want me to do? He said, let's go talk to JJ. JJ Dilla was the head of talent relations. JJ, Sarge is working, starting today. What do you want him to do? He said, I don't know. What do you want to do, Sarge? I said, I don't know, JJ. What do you think I should do? I don't know. And we kept going back and forth. Vince says, just do something. And he left. So JJ says, I got an idea. He takes me into this room, opens up the door, and it turns on the light, and there's boxes and boxes of tapes and letters and photos. And he said, these are what we call the wannabes. People send stuff in, want to be
a
superstars,
WWE
they want to
superstar.
be managers, they want to work in the TV, they want to do this and that. Go through them and see if you can find something. So one of the people I found was Mark Calloway.
Never heard this story either.
I put his tape in, and within 1 minute, I ejected it, put it under my arm like a football, and I ran to Vince's office. I said, Vince, you got to see this guy. He said, Sarge, I'm in a meeting. If you think the guy's worth a tryout, call him and tell him to come in. I said, okay. Go back to my desk, dial Mark's number. Mark, yeah. This is Sergeant Slaughter from WWF. WWF back then.
Love it.
He goes, yeah, right. And he hangs up on me.
Oh, shit.
I call him back. Hello, Mark? Yeah. Sergeant Slaughter. Uh-huh. Who is this? Ha-ha. Very funny. Blah, blah, blah. Hangs up on me in a second.
Wow.
So the third time I waited a little while, I call him back. Is that you again? Who is this? Ha-ha. I said, this is Sarge, Sergeant Slaughter.
Wow.
You have a pencil and paper? Yeah. Write this number down. 203-352-8600 and ask for Sergeant Slaughter. and he said, you got that number? What is it? 203-8600. I said, you got it? Okay. Wham! I hung up on him. About 10 minutes later, I get a secretary comes over. There's a Mark Calloway on the line for you. Put him through. Hello? Oh, it is you. I said, yeah, you sent the tape in here. I'm trying to get you to come for a tryout. Can you come? What is it? Well, it says Rochester, New York. Yeah, I could be there. Okay, come on in. When you get there, look me up. Comes in, looks me up. I said, put your stuff in the extras room. Go to catering. If you see somebody there you can have a match with, come and tell me. Okay, I will. About 2 hours later, he comes back. I found the guy you can have a match with. Okay. You'll be on the first or second match. We're going to tape it. We're not going to air it.
Oh,
Just
man.
going to show it to ourselves. So he gets out, does his match. I'm on the headset telling the referee how much time's left and blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden, one of my headsets goes off my ear. And I hear Vince's voice. Where did you find this guy, Sarge? I said, in a box of tapes. And he goes, send them to my office immediately.
Wow.
Wow.
Off Vince goes.
That's
he had a
insane.
monitor in his office. Mark comes up. How did I do? I said, I think you did great, but Vince wants to talk to you. Did I do something wrong? I said, I think you probably did something right. Come on.
Not if you want
So
to.
I introduced him to Vince. But half hour later, I see him. I said, what did Vince say? He says, he wants to know if I can come tomorrow night and do another match. Buffalo. I said, can you? He said, yeah, I'll be there. So
Wow.
he never left.
Became one of his staunchest friends.
Wow.
The Shawn Michaels and the
Still.
WWE need to bring Sarge into talent acquisition.
The amount of
the man has
amount
the
of
eye.
ideas.
Why, yeah, from the
He's a
beginning
good
to
success
now.
at a Dusty Rhodes.
He
Right.
also gave Vince
what
the
do you
idea to do with Rodney to make him a sumo. And
Oh,
pair
the
him
Ozuna.
up with Mr. Fuji and make him a Japanese wrestler. And Yokozuna was born.
Triple H, Shawn Michaels. I know you're seeing this right now, right? You need to bring him on. You need him in the room looking
Sarge,
at this
no
young
one has
talent.
order.
Yeah, he,
Sarge, no one has a mind like
Vince
you.
came
for
out of
pro
his
wrestling.
office and he said, Sarge, I don't know what to do with that big Samoan kid over there. I said, I know Rodney. I worked with him many times up in the AWA.
he says, he's a hell of a talent, but I got 10 sumo guys now. He said, what am I supposed to put some polka dots on his ass or what? Like,
No polka dots, Vince. What is with the polka
and
dots?
And I said, well, let me give it some thought. So I leave, go to my hotel room that night, and I always had a pad of paper and a pen or pencil around. And I'm laying there thinking about Rodney, and I said, a sumo wrestler. So I write it, write the whole thing out. Next day, go to Washington, D.C., and Vince is late, as usual. And I'm waiting. I said, and he finally, hey, Sarge, you have a good night? Yeah, I got something to tell you. I got to show you something. He said, I'm late. We got to do the production meeting. When we're done with the production meeting, let's get together. I said, okay, so we get the production meeting done. Everybody goes. I said, hey, you got a few seconds? He said, well, I got some calls to make, but I'll catch up with you. So here he comes out, comes to catering, sits down with me. So what's your idea? I tell him, why don't you make Rodney a sumo wrestler? He said, I like that idea. Go get Mr. Fuji. Rodney, send him to my office. Vince gets up from eating and leaves his plate and goes into his office. I go get Rodney and Fuji, and they go into his office. They come out about a half hour later, and Rodney comes over, gets down on his hands and knees and kisses my hand. He said, thank you.
Oh, man.
I said, what?
Unreal.
And here comes Fuji. Fuji had bow legs, and it was his last night to do TV. He was done after that. He gets on his hands and knees. Thank you. This was my last night.
Sarge father over here.
Really?
They want us to go up to Connecticut and go to the office and get outfits made. I'm going to be his guy, Great. So that's how things happen.
Unbelievable.
That's.
I know you had a few more questions, but
No, we hit them all.
I want to get through these toys because I think you're going to get a kick out of the. This is so as far as I know, because there could be stuff missing. I think this is a complete collection of every figure that they've ever made of you.
Wow.
I
Be
think I
here
have
till
them
Christmas.
Really?
All of them. All of them. I think they're all in here. Well, except for the ones that are on the table.
I got to
next
see
to
if
me.
my agent's got room in his car for all these.
He's going to try to take these home.
I'm going to start
Take it
off.
home?
We'll show off the.
The new one.
We got the new one here.
I haven't
This
seen
is-
that yet.
This is the box version of the Triple T tank.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
Beauty.
there you
I
are.
like that. Got leather neck.
Yep.
Yeah, you showed the figure earlier.
But here I've got. So this is probably the rarest in my
That is a
collection.
rare.
So
That
this
is
right
a
here
rare one.
is a Toy Fair exclusive.
That's where I met Donald Trump.
And
Oh,
this
wow.
This is one of 100. So there's only 99 other people in the world that have this, unless somebody has two, and then that's even less people.
There's actually
So-
one of 20 also.
Yes, there was an employees only. I believe it was a Wizard employee or it was a Toy Fair employee. I don't remember, but there was only 10 run of those. That I'll probably never see because
got a box
those
of
people aren't going to get rid of those.
He's got a box of them.
Unsigned.
Unsigned.
Now,
That's a quick cash in.
this is a foreign carded figure of you here.
Yes, that's the Spanish version. The story behind that was if you could see here on the my hand looks a little deformed. And I have exclusive that I can yes or no a figure.
Oh.
And I said I don't like the looks of that. It looks like I'm deformed.
Like he's pointing
So they
behind
said
you.
no problem, and they called up Argentina and let them buy them and put their own writing and lettering and language on it.
Wow.
Both sides. It's all in
Where the hell did you get that?
Spanish.
Yeah, where the.
Oh man, over the years through eBay,
That's
through
a tough
conventions, through. It's the only carded GI Joe figure I have to this day.
What's nice about all these? They're not signed.
Yeah.
Well,
So that's the original LJN mold.
Yeah.
And now the big rubber guys came back
Rubber
out
guy,
with that. Sarge, you going to have any of those tomorrow for the
Side
big
by
event?
Side.
We're probably going to have people bringing them, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely.
Don't miss your opportunity to. This is a kind of a once in a lifetime show
tomorrow at the big event.
those
You
are
can bring
limited.
Your Sergeant Slaughter Wrestling and G.I. Joe figures to get autographed.
Oh yeah.
If you're on Long
Plus,
Island,
we'll have our stuff there too.
Of
T-shirt.
course, you got the
Whoa!
the new shirt. Rob is repping the new shirt
There
too.
you are.
That is the
shirt.
new
You can get these
Yeah.
shirts at the
Yeah.
con.
only
They
right
are
now.
they are available for sale.
Yep. they are.
So you definitely want to.
Is that Randy Orton?
So this is a Randy Orton Legend Killer 2-pack that they came out with the Jack Specific
Wow.
line.
Right. That's one of my favorite figures of me.
This is
Really
definitely
like
one of the
that
best because it's got the classic white pistol belt with the black tights and the camo. Because the mass released one was with the tan pants, which you really didn't rock that much.
Right.
When you wrestled, you didn't have pants. You had the tights. And to my chagrin too, because every time I dress as you at a convention, I got to take 2 layers of tights off to pee. And then this was probably one of the things I was the most excited over in my entire life.
He-Man.
So He-Man has always been one of my top fandoms with Star Wars and Ninja Turtles and all them. But for them to make a He-Man figure of you, my brain almost broke for a second. I was like, is this real? Did they really make a He-Man figure of Sergeant Slaughter?
Yes, they did.
And I ended up buying 3 of them.
One to open, one to card, one to get signed.
One just, and then of course you were gracious enough to sign one for me at that 80s wrestling con when we were together there.
Rob, show them the Hasbro.
Yeah.
It's over by your other side.
What's that?
Hasbro.
Oh, it's that's the one.
So this one's an important one here.
Let him hold it.
So, and you had originally told me the story that the autograph that's on the packaging is actually not your autograph.
No, this
They actually
autograph up here.
forged it, whereas the other wrestlers actually had authentic signatures on their package art. So I got one of the few that actually has a real sword.
What's ironic about that is you're finally with Hasbro and the WWF at the same time. That was kind of like a full
That's what
circle
I was trying
moment.
to get across to them.
Yeah. That's what they could have had all those years.
This one here has Sergeant Slaughter underneath. Now, there are some that were made without the name, so that became a real collector item.
Ooh, I didn't know that.
Last one I saw 4 years ago was going for $8,000.
Wow.
Whoa.
Unsigned.
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 Holy smokes.
This was probably worth more because it is signed.
Oh, there you go.
Yes.
Twice signed, as they call
And
it.
he held it again, so there you go.
Yeah, we have the he
Empirical
said it.
proof that
Yeah.
it's-
If you need to get it proved, if you need authentic,
Now you
it's
see,
$8,000 in the
now-
pocket.
Monkey see.
This is probably one you don't see
Oh,
very
I
often.
got a
The
few of
bubble
those, but
bath.
I haven't seen one with a package on it yet.
Yeah, so it's still in the shrink.
That's the bubble bath.
Bubble
That
bath.
is that is a Sergeant
just
Slaughter
watched
bubble.
the
G.I. Joe bubble bath.
The
Can you imagine
legends.
how clean you can get.
Absolutely.
Little sergeant, so you get squeaky clean there.
Sergeant Suds.
Sergeant.
Oh, there's it.
So this is the Creo, kind of like the Lego, I guess, competitor.
Yeah.
Because they came out with a whole line of G.I. Joes with this. And I think I might have bought this one from you.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't find it elsewhere.
That is actually the greatest thing to put together because it's metal.
Oh, wow.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Now Rob's going to have to
Triple
open
T
it.
tank is metal.
And
We
now
used
Rob's
to
going to
have 'em-
open it,
we
which
used
is
to have them on display at our booths, and people bought them up. They didn't want the package; they just wanted the Triple T tank.
We got the little Major Bendies.
Yes.
Love
this
that
is the
figure, too.
smaller one,
USA.
which is very cool.
something so unique about your character.
He's
compared to
toyetic.
any other wrestler.
He's toyetic.
It's unbelible. It just
Oh, there's
pops.
the Chris figure, the commish.
There's the commish. Yeah, we had to get that one for sure.
We had to dig out the commish.
See how they have me dressed? I couldn't even put the Cobra clutch on anybody.
Oh, the
that.
Jackie would have ripped that
You
jacket
just
in
pick a
half.
bunch of people's noses with that finger
Yeah.
sticking out.
Yeah.
See that?
I got the contracts. Anytime I sign one of those, I say, and that's an order, maggots.
So
Oh,
this
there's
is
a
one of
classic.
two of the San Diego Comic-Con exclusive G.I. Joe. This is the first time after the 80s that they brought you back to the G.I.
Right,
Joe, and it was for
right.
a limited run. There were two different
they,
figures.
The back of it,
Trade them.
if you have one and you haven't got it signed, on the back is a letter I wrote
Oh,
to all
wow.
the Joes.
Oh shit.
And Hasbro loved the letters so much that they took my name off and put it on the package so that we could sign it for anybody that bought them.
It's amazing.
That's really
So
cool.
they would get it.
Get that
actually
signed
personalized.
tomorrow in Brentwood.
Yep.
Big event, New York.
Oh,
Get
yeah.
tickets at bigeventny.com right now.
That's right.
Do it now.
Do it now.
There's two
And
versions
then more
of it.
importantly, you have to do a package deal with Sarge
Yeah.
because you get to have 4 different poses with Sarge. You get to go in the Cobra Clutch, and you get the challenge coin. You get the challenge coin for being in the Cobra Clutch, which is pretty insane, and also an autograph. I believe that's part of it as well.
You can't buy the coin. You have to earn it.
That's right.
Yep.
Just like the first figure.
Yes. I love
First
that.
G.I. Joe figure. You can't buy it.
Got to earn it.
Now this will probably give you a good
Pete, are
shuffle.
you still awake?
He's still awake.
I had that.
Uh-oh.
I had that.
No,
and
no, you have one.
I had.
The full,
thought I was the
the
only
full
one that
get
had
up.
one.
So this is the full.
Did you wear that?
No, no.
Did Pete wear that out?
Peter, was that yours?
I'm sure it wouldn't fit now.
I bet you got a lot of candy wearing that.
Look at that suit. Oh, man. Oh, I'd be sweating through that.
That's a mask. The likeness is incredible.
Especially the eye holes.
Yeah, right through
The eye holes are incredible.
Didn't quite have the technology back in the.
And in case we want to throw a party, I mean, we've got
Yeah.
the,
Oh man.
of course,
He's got
you
the
know,
honeycomb
Got the
centerpiece.
birthday party.
and we've got cups
Got the
and napkins.
Yes, yes.
yeah, we got little hats.
Oh,
Little hats. Yeah.
Right now, we've
Plates.
got all the paraphernalia.
Yeah, plates and
Oh, yeah.
hats.
You originated merchandise. You were like before
he was
Hulk,
a-
like really the
way
first.
before,
Yeah,
I opened a lot of doors for those guys.
that's
Oh, yeah.
that's
your,
incredible.
That's a good one.
Yeah, right.
Oh man, too bad we
With
couldn't.
Sheiky Baby.
Colonel Mustafa. You get one of those signed by both. Look at that.
So this is the little muscle. So back in the 80s, they had
Show
the
me.
little muscle figures. And you're actually in this little set
Yeah,
right there.
yeah, I am.
He has
And,
everything.
this was actually a gift from my good
Fucking
friend
everything.
Mitch over at Hassel Toys.
Oh,
he used to be on Long
he's a
Island.
great
Now he's
guy.
located in Ohio.
Yeah.
Dear friend of the show, and he's a huge
Yeah.
wrestling freak.
Yeah.
He's got a whole wrestling store, which is crazy. Next up, I want to show both of these off because one of them is just the original, and one of them is actually a custom that one of my best friends, Bill, who is an actually army veteran, lives in Ireland now with his wife and 2 kids. He actually custom painted a G.I. Joe Sergeant Slaughter for me
Wow, that's great.
That one looks
before they
great.
had brought out the new 6-inch G.I. Joe line.
Hall of
Damn,
Fame.
look at
I was
that one.
lamenting how they hadn't made like a mail-away Sarge, and I'm still waiting for that to this day. I want the original mail-away Sarge in 6-inch scale.
They're
with the
making all
black
this
pants
crap.
and
They-
all
this-
the other stuff they've made. They made Slaughter's Marauders. They made the Triple T tank now.
Yeah.
They got to bring back the original OG
Yeah.
Mail away.
with the black pants.
Limited edition.
Did you show him your brother's G.I. Joe?
Yeah, that was the first
Okay,
thing.
okay.
We got a few more things here. This was an actually really, really nice piece.
Look at that.
That was the first one they made.
So this one
That
was.
line. That's the ultimate.
So you can see that here.
Yeah.
Clean.
There's a black card variant. Actually, that's a rare one on that. So that's that was a Mattel Creations exclusive.
sold
That
out in,
might be the only one that I don't have.
Wow.
Is the black, but it's the same figure. It's just
Yeah.
a different box.
Probably still have the most desired merchandise.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's a great Sarge figure. That is a great Sarge figure.
This is the other Toy Fair exclusive that was mass produced.
Cooler.
You know, this was more readily available.
I like that one because of the jacket.
Yeah, it's a cloth good jacket.
Yep.
He's got an army of
Field
Sergeant
jacket.
Slaughter toys.
Field jacket.
Take the one.
All the way down to this.
Yeah,
What the
look
hell
at
is
those
that?
guys.
This is what I think they call them squish bees.
Yeah.
They're little tiny little guys that are,
Yeah.
like I'm telling you, I have a custom Lego in here. I've got
Isn't there the on-card miniature
this
that
is
comes?
the original.
Oh, there's the
Oh.
one. There's the
Triple
one.
T, yeah.
This is
Let him
the
hold that
OG.
one. Let him hold that
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, so that's
Trade him.
There's your
That's the
tank
rookie
there.
figure,
I'll
Sarge.
take that so you don't have to hold
All
it
right.
over.
That is the original right there.
And then
Oh, it's glory.
you can't.
I got that
have
for
the
my
triple
birthday
T.
one year.
The Joes are in
Without the
trouble.
warthog.
No, the Cobra's in trouble. That's G.I. Joe.
There you go.
Oh, the Warthog, yeah.
He knows.
That's the only one that came with my campaign cover would come off.
Wow.
Yes, that's
Oh,
correct.
that's a big
All
deal.
the other ones are
Yep.
glued on.
Yep.
And that makes them so rare because you would lose all of those accessories as a kid.
Along with the first original, where you couldn't buy it, you had to earn it. They opened up the package and lost the swagger stick.
This would be the other major
wow.
bendy.
Classic,
Another
classic
big-
Sarge.
The swagger stick is one of the
Stuff.
underutilized accessories.
Yeah.
Oh, and I knew I had this.
The hell
So
is
this
that?
is another party favor. This is one of
party
those little
favor,
guys
yeah.
that you blow.
Yeah, you
And
blow
he
the,
goes, you know, one of them guys.
yeah,
Oh my god!
the old blow job.
No, well, at least it's not snow job in that thing.
Snow job.
Oh man!
Snow job. The old snow job. Sorry.
Dad.
Don't
This is
mess
a
with
San Diego
something.
Comic Con exclusive.
That is.
This is another little guy
Yeah,
here,
little guy.
and this was part of the hockey
Hockey
set.
game. Yeah.
So there was
Holy
an actual
shit.
WWE
Yeah, what-
hockey
I
set.
was an enforcer.
Oh, you could put it on the thing, the table,
Exactly.
the table
and you know,
hockey.
he went on the thing. He's got a little peg under his shoe.
Oh, that's so.
I know
fun,
a few
bro.
things you're missing. I know what to get him for Christmas now, Sarge.
I don't know. We haven't gotten through the box yet.
Jesus Christ, we'll be here till Christmas.
I mean, yeah, poor. Oh
Of course, we
boy,
got a loosey goosey.
All right.
There you go.
Hasbro.
Yeah.
those are great. Those are
that
so
was
good.
one of my favorite figures, the Blue
go.
Tank
That's
Sarge.
a Marauder. The
It's a
Marauders.
Marauder.
This was like a top set
Yep.
thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Make them balance.
Well, they
and
were
fight
they were
each other.
they were jumpers.
Yep.
Yep.
Had a game that
The game.
vibrated.
Yep.
I remember that football game.
I don't
It was
know
like
if you've
that.
seen this one, Sarge. There's a poker chip of you.
Yes, I have one of those. yeah,
That-
Wow.
yeah.
There's your
My,
Oh, there he
Iraqi
is.
there's the Iraqi sympathizer, Sarge.
there you go.
The cap. That must have been a little weird.
Unbelievable.
Oh yeah, that's with the little headscarf there for you.
That was the one with Howard Fakel was on the cover.
$10,000 of Sergeant Slaughter toys.
Was that a lot of fun though? Doing that?
Oh yeah.
This is kind of like Green Army Men mold, but in this bag, there's a
What the fuck is
there's a
that?
blue Sarge. I'm
Where
not
did-
telling you.
where did
whenever
you-
they're made a
where you-
Sarge,
where did you
yes,
get that?
Is it eBay?
Yeah, it's amazing.
You know, eBay over the years.
Jesus Christ. Sarge, he's got to be your number one fan.
Oh, he is.
He's got to be.
He's my best friend.
We got the
Yeah, that's the first one
this is
where
the
I didn't
Jack
have any
Specific
hair.
Deluxe.
Give it to him.
Let him hold this one. They decided to.
I'll give
Oh,
him the hat too.
Yeah,
Oh my God! I'm not gonna hold shit down.
they gave me the title. That was my title. I love that figure.
And here's a
I'm sorry.
Here's a pin.
Yeah,
a what?
got a pin.
I love. Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Pin.
Nice
I'm a
little
big
pin.
pin collector. My old age.
What's the other
I am.
thing we're doing tomorrow night? We're doing a.
Oh yeah, you're
Virtual.
signing. You're signing.
Virtual signing.
What was it?
Oh right.
Yeah, it's a virtual signing event. He's also doing tomorrow night after the convention. So if you miss your chance or you don't live in the New York area, but you still want to get an autograph from one of the greatest people to ever live, you got to go.
KS
KS
WrestleFest.
There's got to
We're
be
gonna share
more
that. We're gonna
Sergeant
share that
Slaughter
now.
merchandise than almost any other.
Did you ever get one of these?
Popper. G.I.
I'm gonna
Joe.
put it in the chat.
It's hard to get the original one from WWE.
I have
because they
that one
quit
too.
making them. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that one's upstairs. But yeah, this is.
Yeah, I saw it earlier when I was up there.
Oh, and then this is the other
It's
Jack
not there
Specific.
anymore. I put it in my pocket. They're hard to come by. Yeah, I like that's. I love the jackets.
In the comments, give Sarge a follow on all those Facebook, Instagram, X.
Yes, his Instagram is Sergeant Slaughter Official. His Twitter or X is @_SGT Slaughter, SLAUGHTER. His Facebook is under Sergeant Slaughter Official as well. And his official website is www.sergeantslaughter.com. If you have ever wanted to meet the first real person to become a G.I. Joe, a living legend, and Hall of Famer from the class of 2004 from WWE, He will be at Big Event New York tomorrow, Suffolk Credit Union Arena. Come on down, and I'll be there as Peter. I'll have a table there as well. Real Life Lois is going to actually debut a new cosplay. She's going to be Macho Mandy.
Wow.
Oh, I can see that.
Ooh, yeah.
Joe, give me some
the
macho.
macho man.
yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go home, Yoko.
Let's go home, Yoko. Guys, this has been the highlight of this podcast for me, to have one of my favorite people on the planet to be here in my home on my show with some of my best friends in the world, my brother here to witness it.
Yeah.
This has been the Break Room Podcast. Hell of a start to our 4th season, episode 1. We want to bring more of these intimate moments with celebrities to you guys, as well as take you all down the nostalgia lane that we love to go down so often.
Yeah, we do.
If you like the show, please hit that subscribe button. We're really trying to hit 10K. We're so close. I think we're at 8.44K right now, so we're super close. If we can get to that, that'll really be the icing on what's been an incredible year with you guys. And
Sarge, which podcast do the people watch?
Oh, they watch the best podcast of them all.
And which one's that?
The Break Room Podcast.
Podcast.
Woo!
Break
Guys,
Room
this has been the
Podcast.
Break Room Podcast.
Don't make
Snoochie
us
Hoochies.
come looking for you for those. Would you want to get 10,000 followers?
Oh yeah, 10,000 followers.
Don't make us come looking for you.
Well, we'll hack into your computers and hit that follow button if we have to.
That's an order.
At ease.
3, 2, 1.
Oh, Joe.
Oh, Titus
my
O'Neil.
God, your kicking table and the computer just shook. That is, no one was mad that you cut the whole You can go anywhere.
Do I do with that?
Yeah, and the macho madness and the Hulkamania.
On top of that, you're the best wrestler of all time. So I absolutely adore you.
For being the cream of the crop, yeah.
Let's go!
Fucking idiot. You have no idea what you're talking about. God. They were saying Sony apparently said that the PlayStation 5. You suckers! Is that the end of it?
Or every pixel of a game engine into the face. Can't say
Dallas. What did when that's like part of my Christmas